Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the show where we chart the cinematic legacy of the great monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
John Campbell, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Wait, what's that mug? Listeners, he's taking a sip from a Spock mug.
It says the many emotions of Spock, and then it's the same picture of him with different emotions.
The gag is good. Yeah, okay. So, would you classify yourself or quantify yourself as a nerd?
I would say so. Yeah. There's a certain point
throwing all kinds of rocks in a very shaky glass house, my friend.
Oh yeah, because we can talk, sir. But there were definitely a point with, like, particularly with Star Trek, where I realized mid conversation, people going like, "The one where this," and I'm like, "Yes, you're talking about the Devil in the Dark."
You're talking about the Corbinite maneuver.
Yeah, there are those. I'm sure you've had those moments too, where it's just like, oh, you realize other people may like this, but you have way more information than they do.
Yeah, it's an awkward thing where you realize you've given yourself away. Not that you feel judged, you just feel alone. And even if these people are cool and indulgent of you, you suddenly go, yeah, anyway. It's like anything to backtrack out of. I could keep going down that hole, but you know what? I prefer the sunlight where the other people are.
I've caught myself mid-sentence, though, where I'm already in the info dump, and I'm like, uh-oh. And I can see the eyes glazing over as I'm starting to go, well, technically the thing about Magneto is,
I feel better about this podcast and us, simply because I figure if anyone's listening to this, they don't care.
Right.
Anyone who was drawn to listen to this podcast, I can go on and on and on about various nerdy, monster-related whatever, and not worry about those glassed over stairs. Yeah. Also, we can't see anybody, so
that helps. I've been doing these podcasts about nerdy stuff long enough that we're just shouting into the void, and every once in a while we get some things back that are
the void shouts back. You'll have to tell me anytime the void shouts back. I'm curious to hear what the void has to say. But yes, I'm glad that you're fine and that I am okay, and that 2021 is shaping up to be a year.
It's definitively been defined as a year. It is
in progress.
Absolutely.
In progress.
Yeah. It cannot be denied that it is a year.
And we are a chunk of the way into our Hammer watching, but
we are.
Are we?
This is our sixth film.
Yeah, we're not even halfway, right? We got a lot of stuff to do.
We have barely scratched the surface of Dracula.
I know. We have so much Dracula ahead, and I'm very excited to get there.
Me too.
But
because we already have one of the franchises on the wane now.
Today we're speaking of the third Frankenstein film by Hammer.
1964.
The Evil of Frankenstein.
Yeah, 1964 is The Evil of Frankenstein, yeah. Good news. Our boy Cushing's back.
That, when people do the whole, let's talk about what went wrong with this movie, I want to just say, let's talk about what went right, because it's a very small list. And what went right is essentially Cushing's back. And even at his worst, and the writers of that book that I referred to a bit, they go, even here, he seems tired. And I'm like, I don't think he seems tired, but boy, you can see a little bit in his eyes of like, this is not the material I was promised. This is not the stuff I was working with before.
And I was surprised at how little he has to do in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's here, but he's not the driving factor of this plot as much as you would think.
There really isn't a driving factor of this plot. The story construction is really fucked up with this movie, and leads to a lot of the big disappointments. What never disappoints is this may not be the Baron Frankenstein that we have seen Cushing play before, but it's still Cushing. And when he's there, he's Cushing. Yeah. And right there at the beginning of the movie with him sawing away at a body and we don't see what he's doing. It's just the way he acts.
That
chopping
part of
into
the movie,
a body.
I love so much. That might be my favorite moment in the movie. It's just that introductory of him sawing into a man's chest and taking his heart out. And when that started, I thought this movie's going to be great.
Yeah, I know.
And he's doing it, man. He makes you believe. I mean, Cushing's just the best. He was just a pro. He just.
Amen, brother.
He was there. He was taking his paycheck and he was giving them their money's worth.
So in the list of things that went right, I will put that in that. I'll check that box.
Correct.
And that's about it.
Yeah, I'd have to say so.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening to Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. Next week. No, we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I did.
Do you have
some bit of
a little background
backstory?
On this one? Yeah, all right.
A little bit of background. And this one, it needs framing simply because every now and then it strikes me where we are in world history as these things come out.
Yes.
So allow me to set the scene. It's 1964, and the British invasion is sweeping the world. Not just the Liverpool sound, as exemplified by Herman's Hermits and other musical groups, but also at the cinema, where a new breed of monster movie has taken inspiration from the classics and is pushing the boundaries of terror. Which is how this period of Hammer films will be remembered and has been remembered. But here on this podcast, you guys know, John and you guys out there can depend on us, Campbell and Jones, working our way through them in sequential order to set the record straight.
Yes.
We're here to praise the worthy, and there is the worthy. We've run across them already.
Absolutely.
And bury the rest. And to which side of the sod will we consign 1964's The Evil of Frankenstein?
We've tipped our hand on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys know. But here's a bit of the backstory. Hammer, 4 years into their deal with Universal International, finally decided to take full advantage of that symbiosis to borrow plot ideas from multiple classic Universal Frankenstein films, one or two of their own ideas for their own stillborn Tales of Frankenstein project for American TV. They borrowed some of the stories from that, and an iconic makeup design now legally available to them. They used all that to make
and I think
this movie.
Therein lies a lot of the problems.
Well, yes, maybe so. Film director Freddie Francis, who had already done solid work for Hammer with Nightmare and Paranoiac, enters the Monster Rally here. It's the first time we've seen him on this podcast.
I will say, with the Hammer box set I have, this is on the same disc as Nightmare, which I have never seen. So I might.
Nightmare's worth it, and Paranoiac again.
I really like Paranoiac. That one's good. I mean, that's another great Oliver Reed.
Yeah, that's young, smoldery Oliver Reed.
Yeah, I like
actually
Paranoiac.
Smoldery is kind of what he always was. Is slightly boozy and slightly smoldery.
He's still kind of smoldery even in like Gladiator.
Oh yeah. That was kind of his stock and trade. Even when he's like really puffy and
still
multiple decades into alcoholism.
So I need to watch Nightmare.
Yeah, I'd say give it a shot. But here he enters the Monster Rally with another less than inspired script from producer Anthony Hines.
Yeah, no Sangster.
No, I feel his absence every day. You realize we're only going to have him like one more time.
Oh no.
Yeah, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, is kind of our last go with Jimmy, which hurts.
Busy coming up with new stories for the Beverly Hillbillies.
I did look out of curiosity at his IMDb to see when does he finally make that jump, and it's not till like late 60s, early 70s. He stays in Britain doing other films, and some for Hammer, but not Dracula's and Frankenstein.
All right, picture this, guys. Jethro discovers an evil cult operating.
I love it. You look, and he's done like 3 episodes of Wonder Woman. I'm like, geez, that's a good excuse if I needed one to go back and rewatch the original Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
I see her as sort of a mythical woman figure, like Boudica. I believe that she's her boobs. If we can expose them, like I did in some of those Hammer films.
I mean, I see the costume already shows off a lot of Linda's goods, but I was wondering if we could make it a little bit more transparent, perhaps.
I don't know if you've ever thought about the European market. I think we could aim some of these episodes at a more mature.
I'd be happy to talk to Linda about it.
Oh goodness gracious me! But we are not in Sangster territory, and it's very obvious.
And you can tell he clearly had more skill than the other people were than Anthony Hines.
Yeah, Anthony Hines, to give him credit, when I watch these that he has written, they're not badly written. They are badly structured. He really doesn't know how to tell a story, but he'll move things along, and some of the dialogue's okay. It's not like
he's got ideas, but putting those into an actual like form that flows in.
And that flows. That gives you an actual story with a point and a climax.
It seems like Anthony Hines is like, and then this. That'll be cool. Well, how do we get there? It doesn't matter. Just put it in.
Doesn't matter. Should we pick up some of the threads of? Nope.
Yeah.
Anyway,
don't care. Didn't even see it.
So this script, as we'll no doubt discuss and have already somewhat discussed, it cobbles together a lumbering story from the discarded pieces of older, long dead films, like some kind of, I don't know, like a reanimated corpse monster.
Yeah, like Reanimator. That's the movie director.
Yeah, that was it. That was what I was going for. But weirdly, it's also a story that discards any of the established Frankenstein continuity they had built up over the past two films, which just hurts.
Really does.
And also, another thing that hurts is, and I do love Hammer's DIY aesthetic. I love the fact that they made handsome-looking films on no budget.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I praised this guy's work just a few weeks ago with Curse of the Werewolf. But Roy Ashton, who was their principal makeup guy, he shows in this movie why he should have stuck to vampires and werewolves, because his go at the classic Jack Pierce Frankenstein monster makeup, which he had the green light. This was because they had that deal. He could just ape what they had done with Karloff, and he does a version. But this thing is so awful. This makeup is so bad. This creature design is so poorly thought up and executed. I think it's even worse than the job he did on Christopher Lee in Curse of Frankenstein, in my humble opinion. It's just,
I agree,
god awful.
It looks like somebody cosplaying as Karloff Frankenstein.
Yeah, and someone without a lot of skill.
Yeah, a bad cosplayer, I should say.
I hate doing that, and I again,
but
I think
but I saw the movie at the same time.
Yeah, here you go. So anyway, audiences, while excited by the prospects of the great Peter Cushing returning to one of his iconic roles, were largely disappointed by this effort, and box office suffered accordingly. So this one, I think, similar to a couple of the others, started strong. Hammer's brand is already slipping, which is not great. I mean, they're making other movies as well that are doing well, like they're thrillers, like things like Nightmare and Paranoia were doing well.
The IMDb does describe this movie as a, quote, box office disaster, so that's not good.
Yeah, I think word of mouth pretty much killed it. It started strong because Cushing's back.
I mean, my experience of just watching this movie today was basically, I think, what the audience went through. I was like, oh, man, here we go. Cushing back as Frankenstein. And pretty quickly it's like, uh-oh. Oh, no.
Yes, uh-oh. So we won't belabor that point because we're about to belabor it for about 2 more hours. But now it's time for a segment that I'm happy to return to, and which I'm sure our audience is going, yes, please. More factoids from the life of Peter Cushing.
We need some kind of like dun 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 dun.
Yeah, we do need like a little musical cue.
As you open the book, The Life of Peter Cushing.
Oh yeah, and the dust flies off. Not because the book is old and not read, it's just because it's in my apartment, and really, it's horrible. Anyway, here's factoid number 1, which I kind of mentioned previously because it cracked me up. While taking bit parts on stage with the Southampton Rep Company, 22-year-old Peter met 18-year-old actress Doreen Lawrence, and they were engaged to be married. Lawrence, however, broke off the engagement, citing his frequent crying and bringing his parents on dates.
Have you met my mom and dad?
I love the idea of sheltered mama's boy, Peter Cushing, at 22, getting really emotional and crying and bringing mom and dad. It's would be sad if only. I mean, we're still talking about the amazing Peter Cushing, so he gets a pass at anything.
Oh,
go ahead, take mom and dad.
Yep,
cry. You're Peter goddamn Cushing. Anyway,
and do you think there was ever a scenario where he'd cry on a date and his mother like comforted him? Because that's not an attractive look.
No, it's not at all. I used to, take action figures on dates and refer to them. It's like, what should I do, Boba Fett? Should I go in for a kiss?
What's that?
And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would occasionally give me advice.
You said used to. I still do that, and it works great.
Perfect. Yeah. He-Man always told me to go for it, and I listened to him.
What's that? By the power of Grayskull, what?
Absolutely, I do have the power. You're right.
Yeah.
Here's another factoid, because I'm creeping out the audience. In 1939, due to his conviction that he must act in films, his father bought him a one-way ticket to Hollywood. I love it. A one-way ticket, like, good luck, son.
Yeah.
Try not to embarrass us, all right, with your little fruity acting.
It's bad enough you were crying on that date you brought your mother and I on last night.
So 39, World War II is just starting, but he went to Hollywood with 50 pounds in his pocket.
And a dream.
And a dream. Very quickly, however, Cushing did score a job on a new film adaptation of The Man in the Iron Mask as a stand-in for star Lewis Hayward, who was playing dual roles. Though Cushing acted opposite Hayward as either part, depending.
Right.
His contributions were, of course, doomed to be cut anyway, due to and be replaced by Hayward's takes. He did get a consolation role, though, as the King's Messenger, which does make this, in fact, his official film debut, because he is in it.
I actually wish Cushing had the part over Hayward.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But he was just a kid.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, young man.
Yeah.
But the small part involved sword fighting, and although Cushing had no experience with fencing, he told the director he was an excellent fencer to ensure he got the part. So he lied. God bless him.
Like any good actor. Absolutely, I can do that.
He stumbled around. But here's the thing that I need to wrap up with. The name of that director who gave him that shot?
Yes.
James Whale.
What? Boom! What? Worlds collide.
That blew me away. The fact that James Whale directed him in his first film, and eventually, of course, he becomes Baron Frankenstein. It's just, I love that.
I love that too. That's amazing, man.
So we'll have more as we deal with Mr. Lee and Mr. Cushing. I'll keep returning to their bios, and hopefully those will also give us some joy and delight as we occasionally have to deal with some pretty crappy movies they're in. Hey, speaking of which, why don't we get started with The Evil of Frankenstein?
Well, first let's talk about a similarly crappy poster for this movie.
Not a good one.
Not a good one at all.
I'm announcing that this will not be one of your best.
No. I'm sorry. Just the way that the Frankenstein monster is posed on this thing, like it looks like he's firing off from the ground. It looks like how they draw Cannonball in an issue of New Mutants taking off.
It's true. It's true. You see the fiery trail from his waist down. This is shockingly substantial.
Can we talk about how much of it is just blank white space?
It's just white space with a pencil, probably charcoal, possibly ink wash of the creature, and this drawing is trying really hard to make that makeup look good, and it can't help. But it's the Frankenstein creature sort of shooting up out of the bottom of the ground in an arc.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of white space, and he's just got the arms out going,
And then
this looks like the kind of illustration that you would buy in a pack that you would decorate like a schoolroom at Halloween.
Yeah. This is elementary school bulletin board Frankenstein.
It's what it is.
So he's shooting up, and then we have all these people seemingly in Terror just cut out pictures from the movie, but none of them are looking at the monster.
No, and these are black and white photos that have been maybe slightly traced over, but it's of weird pairings.
Here's one of my favorites.
There's Cushing with the mute girl.
Yeah.
There's the blonde Burgermeister's wife, who never has a line of dialogue.
By the way, though, there's a lot of promotional photos of her for this movie, though.
Of course, because they've already learned. It's like, cast, your good actors, and maybe one of the female leads can actually act, but also fill the background in small parts with bodacious model types who then can be promoted in, little photo shoots and things that'll go in magazines or go in the Sun or the Daily Star or whatever they call the tabloids over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure that this was like a page 3 girl who probably was, topless in the newspaper promoting Evil of Frankenstein.
I just did a Google image search of her, and yes, there are some rather saucy photos of her.
Oh dear. And
I will stand by the use of the word saucy, not graphic in any manner. They are saucy.
Yes, well, we're still in 64. Even Hammer at this point is still being naughty. They're being coy. We're not there yet. No see-through nightgowns yet. We promised we'd keep track of that for you guys.
Yeah,
we will.
We'll let you know as soon as we can see stuff. You can buy official merchandise for Karen Gardner, though, on her website. So just
that's the.
Wow, here we go.
She's still around.
She's still around. Still alive. Also, a Benny Hill girl.
Oh, perfect.
That she looks like that exactly.
It does stun me sometimes because, of course, Benny Hill came here in weird syndicated blocks that you would see or didn't, depending on where you lived. But I, in my teen years, it was showing at like 10 o'clock on one of the independent channels where I grew up. But that was just sort of like a weird alien thing from another world that you'd watch and you go, I don't get this. And then you realize that guy's career over there, he was an institution. That show lasted decades. We saw chunks from like the late 70s, early 80s that they put together in packages. But that guy's show ran for a million years in the UK. So it doesn't surprise me that this woman from a movie in 1964 was one of his multitudes of hot girls that he'd have on his show.
I've also just discovered something else on our IMDb that will lead me to have to bring up. Well, I'll talk about. We're not actually talking about the movie.
You don't have to.
I have to bring this up, but we'll talk about when it's in the movie because we're still on the poster. I'm realizing.
I know.
I went down the rabbit hole of Karen Gardner. So,
understood.
That's Karen spelled Caron, by the way.
Are you trying to drive traffic to her website?
That's KarenGardner.com, everybody. KarenGardner.com. She was the buxom Burgermeister's wife in Evil.
Who has no dialogue in this
movie.
But
does give a to Peter Cushing at one point.
That's true. Yeah. She is hot for Baron.
Yeah, hot for that Cushing, man. Come on.
Hot for Baron, which was that Van Halen song that didn't get a lot of play.
Yeah, their tribute to Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
So then we got the Castle Frankenstein, whatever, and the thing here, and then we have this sort of, what is this, like flames? It looks like a bird.
Well, I'm not sure what the graphic idea they were going for. As we've already stated, it's all just black and white, and the white space is overwhelming, and that's a poor design choice.
Can I talk about for a movie that declares on its poster that it's a film in color to have this black and white posters?
Absolutely, and yeah, so there's, I guess, graphic flames, which is the only color, and they're red. And in the flames, they have the scary font of the Evil of Frankenstein in color.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a terrible poster.
Yes.
But it does let us know that the monster is back and no one can stop him.
No one. Not
Which
a single
is a lie,
person.
Because we see him stopped fairly easily.
And it also declares we got to talk about what's the dumbest part of this poster, which is this lightning bolt design containing text. And it says, like you've never been shocked before.
Yes, this is all contained in a Captain Marvel-esque lightning bolt that is coming from the side of the poster, going right to the heart of the monster. It's just dumb. This poster is making me angry, John. We have to move on.
Poster's bad, and befitting the movie and the poster, the taglines are pretty lame as well.
Man, did Anthony Hines write these two?
Well, because we have the aforementioned, like, you've never been shocked before, and then there's some similar plays on that. One of the taglines was just shock.
Jeez. And then someone goes, "Who's there?" And then the joke never ends.
Yeah.
Shock, who's there?
Then we have, he's never been more shocking.
Oh, Jesus.
They really, do you get it? Electricity is what brings it back. We aforementioned the monster's back and no one can stop him. And then, once again, these are lame. We have lightning raises the dead. And then finally we have the monster bred from a dozen corpses. That's it.
Lightning raises the dead is such a non-thought, such a non-sentence. It
lightning
looks like,
raises the dead.
You know how when you'd have like the golden books for kids where they'd have an extremely simplified version of whatever, even a Disney movie.
Yeah. And
you'd have a page of extremely big font, simple sentences. Yeah. Then the following page would be an illustration with a little caption.
Right.
That is what that is. Yeah. That is one of those captions
Lightning raises the dead.
Lightning raises the dead. Or the caption for a still in a Viewmaster reel.
Yes. Lightning raises the dead for the Universal Frankenstein Viewmasters. So
stupid. I'm angry.
You're not gonna get happier when we start talking about this movie. I don't think so.
There are very few bright spots.
Let's talk about it.
Let's get
Frankenstein.
In there.
Here we go. We open on a little cottage in the woods and a very depressed couple leaving. The woman is sobbing from this cabin, and then there's a creepy dude sneaking about.
Yep.
And he tiptoes his way to this cabin and reaches in a window and just starts pulling this body that's on display in the cabin, just sliding her on out.
You've missed a part in there.
Have I?
Mixed in. I mean, this is what happens. But in this cabin, okay. Mm-hmm. In the cabin is a little girl.
Yes, I was going to say,
who is witnessing the corpse of someone who has passed.
Yeah.
Being drug out the window by the creepy guy who was waiting outside to steal the corpse. Okay, this person is stealing the corpse. So here's what we never understand. We never understand who this person who's dead is.
Nope.
But also the sad couple that leave obviously they paid their respects, and there was a priest there too, and everyone's paid their respects and left the cabin. Is there just a little girl alone in a cabin with a corpse? Is that it? Like
he was my father, and I had nowhere else to be.
Wouldn't the grieving couple or the priest go, "Well, you're coming with us because we can't leave you here alone with your father's corpse"?
Hey, father, what's that weird girl doing over in the corner?
Jesus. So
she's freaking me out.
This is a weird opening, but yes, the creepy guy steals the corpse and makes his merry way. And meanwhile, the little girl,
she runs out of the cabin into the woods, and what's this? Bumps into somebody, looks up. Good introductory shot of Mr. Peter Cushing.
Yeah, he like reaches out his hand as if to like kind of comfort. Like, this is interesting. And weirdly, without me knowing anything about this script, because I haven't seen this one, I'm like, right off the bat, I'm like, is this a different take on this guy? Because here's Frankenstein. We know that he's probably paid the dude to steal the corpse, whatever.
It doesn't take much to put two and two together here.
And he doesn't say a word of dialogue, but he's such a good actor that you can read that this Baron Frankenstein is concerned for this young girl and is reaching out like a consoling hand or like a "what are you doing out here?" Doesn't matter. She's freaked out, so she runs away from him.
She screams and runs away. I don't. It's interesting because I don't know what it is about Peter Cushing that's scary exactly that would make her scream.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a stranger, which you would not want to run into.
But he's well dressed and put together and has like a walking stick. He's not.
He looks dapper as fuck.
It's not like she ran. The corpse stealing guy is a real creep.
Yeah, he's the one you would probably shriek and run away from. But
and so anyway, they run to. The priest hears of what has happened. And he says, and I thought this was actually a good cut. Who could have done this evil thing?
I liked this.
I like this. This is very comic booky, old movie kind of thing, but I love it.
What a horrible thing. Who could do such a thing? And then immediately cuts to someone going, Baron Frankenstein.
Yep.
You're like, oh, okay. I do like that kind of stuff. Set up a question and have it play out in an unintended but intended way. I love it.
I never get tired of that stuff. That always gets me. And so now the body is being brought into Frankenstein's lab. They quickly get him on the table. They quickly get this body on the table, and he starts Frankenstein starts drawing an outline around the heart where it would be.
Yeah.
And the guy who's now been paid for the body, and who's I also like, he's like, I can get you more.
Yeah.
I'm really good at stealing bodies.
Here's the thing: everybody's got this certain talent, and mine is finding the recently dead and stealing them.
Hi, you play the cards you were dealt.
Some people write sonnets. Some people are excellent architects. I can steal a body.
Like that. Like it was never there. But I like, he goes, hey, because this is where we also meet Dr. Frankenstein's assistant, Hans.
Man.
And
this person is a non-entity.
He's a total bore. And he's like, "Aye, what's he doing?" And Hans is like, "He's going to cut out his heart." And the guy's like, "What?" And it's like Hans goes, "Well, he doesn't need it."
Yeah, I mean, and this is all fair dialogue. And if maybe this actor were better, it would have paid off. You remember the guy from the past Frankenstein movie who becomes his young protege?
I didn't know
the guy who's sharp and he's on it.
He was good. We really liked him. I didn't know we were just abandoning continuity here, so I'm starting to go like, well, wait a minute, why? This isn't the guy from the last movie. And last we saw them, they had set up in another town under a new identity.
Yeah,
they were just
he was Dr. Frank.
Yeah, and he was, and the presumption I saw that as is like, he's moved somewhere else and he's just doing the same shit again. Because what I liked about this, I
thought we were starting with this. Yeah.
What I liked about this beginning is, and something I always want from these sequels, is no new setup. He's just back doing Frankenstein shit right at the start. He's already going. He's already got an experiment up and running.
Unfortunately, this movie doesn't take that tack, and this movie wants to reset, do a cosmic reset button. So this movie gives you, if you're a fan of the It's Alive scene, you get two of them in this movie. You get a lengthy flashback to the original creation of the original monster.
Lengthiest of flashbacks.
Yes, and then you get a unnecessarily lengthy resuscitation of same monster later in the movie with the same equipment, the same. I'm like, oh, come on. I love Frankenstein in his lab. I love him bringing a creature to life, but
it's not. None of it is that exciting either. It's not played with the grandiosity I want it to be played with.
No, but this is the first movie again where they said, "Oh, we also have the rights to that kind of a lab setup."
Oh yeah.
So they try to universalize Frankenstein's equipment.
When I read that, I went, "Oh, I see what they've done." Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about it, but I get what happened now.
You can literally just sort of patchwork this thing and go, "Oh, they got this from Bride.
Yeah.
They got this from Ghost of. They got this from House of Dracula." There's all these little bits. They just went, yeah, let's put it all together. Does it work? Nope. And I tell you what,
it's not exactly a Frankenstein's greatest hits as much as it's just some stuff that was in Frankenstein mixed together.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but a mute, cute beggar girl who we'll meet later, a deaf mute, cute beggar girl, and this boring guy with an odd accent that I kept trying to place where his accent was. I think he actually may be Germanic, but doing British. They do not, the combination of them doesn't make up for Bela Lugosi as Igor.
I'm sorry. Sandor Elise, who plays Hans. He is Hungarian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's a handsome young guy, and he's earnest, but he's dry and boring.
Yeah.
And he's just Frankenstein's they
have no relationship beyond this is my assistant. There's no connection between the two.
There's one good piece of dialogue where you can tell Peter Cushing is going, I'm giving you something, fellow actor. Give me something back. That one scene on the mountain later in the movie where he goes, why do you do it, Hans? Why do you stay with me through all this? I mean, you could have gone to any university, become a doctor. Why are you with me? And the guy just sort of goes, but I would never learn from them what I learned from you. I think you have learned the answer to life.
And then I actually see Peter Cushing go,
yeah, you can see him going, shit, man, that was your bit. I gave you gold and you gave me that.
This is a back and forth, young man.
Oh, we're not there yet. Okay, so anyway, right here at the beginning.
I will say Sandor Elise, or however you pronounce his name, on a couple episodes of the Avengers and a couple episodes of the Saints. So not bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, and Karen, what's her name?
We'll talk about Karen.
Oh, okay. All right. I know what you want to talk about, and we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah,
we're not there yet.
Yeah. But then starts this awesome scene that is opening titles roll over him just sawing into a man's chest cavity.
This is actually what I think can work in these movies, which is I do like when you get full-on gore, and as a society, that's where our horror movies have gone. They don't shirk. They show you everything.
And I love every second of it.
This is so effective.
It is.
This is nice because they're not, the music just comes up, and all it is from... It's a head to chest shot.
Yeah, the camera. We see him put the knife down, and the camera pushes in just as he starts to cut.
Right, and then we don't see the actual blade work or gore or anything. All we see is him working, and he's so good at this. It looks like a man who knows what he's doing, but it also looks like a man who goes, this is tough. You got to cut through here. I have to go through this part of the bone, and I have to do this. And he's working it. He's not overdoing it. He lifts his hand at one point, so you do see there's blood on his glove, and he adjusts the lamp. It's just perfect wordless acting by a master who convinces me this is Baron Frankenstein.
Did you read the factoid about this scene?
No.
So when they shot the scene, he was actually cutting into a piece of cabbage because they felt that the sound of that would sound right through cutting through ribcage. And that was in the original cut, but the censors made them put music over this because they thought it was too graphic to actually hear the crunching of the blade going through bone and stuff like that.
And all they're doing is trying to copy what, Hitchcock did with Psycho, which was the knife and the melon, and that was, 4 years before this came out.
Right. So anyway, that...
Censors. Yeah. They're so timid.
And so then he pulls the heart out and dumps it in a bubbling tank. These movies love a good bubbling tank with an organ in it.
A bubbling tank and an organ in it and a star to guide her by. I don't know what that is. Just give me a bubbling tank with a heart in it and a star to steer her by.
And then he drops it in there, and then the priest grabs this body snatcher guy, and I thought, the priest is going to be our central antagonist because they're really setting him up to be like, what's going on in there? And I thought, okay, all right,
he's aware of what's going on, and there's been rumors about what Frankenstein's doing, I guess. Because he busts in and is like, I know what you've been up to, Frankenstein.
Yeah, I also, right before the priest busts in, I do love Hans just dumping this body into like the sewers or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I guess they're right above some water source because they do have like this trap door and down goes the body. I like that too.
I really like that because it's just like, well, we took what we need. The rest just pump. Who cares? We're done. We're done with this now.
And then they look at the little girl and just go, "Screw your old man."
Yeah. No, we all heard nobody liked him anyway, so we don't even feel bad about this. But I just love that because once again, it's like they've been at this a while. They're very efficient. They have a workflow to what they're doing. It's just like cut the heart out, dump the body, on with the next part of the experiment.
Yeah.
Which I really like. I wish this was the assistant from the last movie, and they were where they were, and this was the continuing. If the continuity was this scene, but with the continuity of the last movie, I'd be thrilled.
Sure.
Because we're just like, he's just picked it up again. He's going.
But also they have, because of hitting the reset button, and Cushing he's a great actor. He can adjust. This is a different character. Sadly, the swagger, the snarl, the sociopathicness.
They've softened Frankenstein. They've softened him.
In this movie, he literally has these moments where he just goes, "Why do they keep bothering me? I'm just trying." And I'm like, this is a different take, but I was totally digging the earlier take.
I was. And that's a valid take on Frankenstein that's interesting too. He's like, why can't they just let me do my work?
Yeah, he is quasi-sympathetic.
Yeah. Well, and
the
big one comes later in the movie when he really seems to care about saving the town from the monster. And I'm like, okay, so they're really casting him in a hero role now.
Yeah.
And
I think this is a movie that
especially for a movie called The Evil of Frankenstein.
Right. It takes so long for this movie to decide who the antagonists and protagonists are.
Yeah.
And by the time we actually get our antagonists, it's so late in the movie. And it's
also,
like the last 20 minutes before they introduce the person who's technically the bad guy. And you're like,
I don't really care for the bad guy that much either.
I liked the actor. I mean, I thought he was doing
not the actor as much as the script he's given here. Yeah.
Yeah. But he was at least awake and had personality and energy.
He's trying his best to make this.
Yeah.
They also mentioned in the IMDb trivia here about when they said the movie was a box office disaster. A lot of criticism was focused upon the poor dialogue of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is, I would say, pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But it's like the idea of audio. It's a word of mouth was, the dialogue's shit. You see that new Frankenstein?
It's not full of the cleverness of a good sangster.
Yeah. I wish sangster would stop writing sitcoms.
This is that elder guy again. Oh, that's the producer.
Yeah. What? Oh, there's your problem.
There's your problem.
By the way,
someone told him he could write.
The voices you were hearing were the 1960s equivalent of British Siskel and Ebert. I don't know. Thumbs down for me.
The original name of their show was At the Bleeding Pictures. At the Bleeding Pictures.
It's another Hammer movie.
I'm going to take umbrage with what you just said. I actually will give this with a thumbs up because of the tits.
And every episode ended with the two of them just getting in a fist fight. Come here!
Oh my God, we've lost every British listener now. They're like, oh, fuck those stereotypes.
Yeah, this was the 60s. It was a different time in England. Yeah. So it does the body. And then, I love Cushing pumping the heart with his hand to get this thing. And they're turning gears and like trying to get electricity through the heart, and Cushing's pumping it with his hand, and the heart starts beating again. And then it's knock, knock, knock at the door. And I like that Hans goes over to see. I better see who it is.
It's like,
yeah.
And I like the fact that the way this building is constructed, wherever they are, The lab, apparently the door to the lab is just also the outside door.
Yes.
It's not like the lab is inside of the building where someone who would interrupt them would have to knock at the outer door and someone would have to leave the lab. The door here is just the door you would knock on.
Yeah. Just goes right out to the street.
You go right into the lab and there's a guy pumping a heart in a tub.
Well, it's our friend the priest who, just explodes into this lab going, "What you're doing is a crime against God, sir."
I think it's efficient, but it's also kind of funny that they have succeeded. They get the heart pumping. This is the thing they need for their new creature or whatever.
Yeah.
And they have this satisfied look. Like Frankenstein looks at his assistant and they're like, "We did it."
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this is the thing we need. And instantly someone comes in and is like, "This is a monstrosity!"
Yeah.
Knocks the whole.
Then this guy just starts fucking up the lab and smashing stuff. And
yeah, it cracked me up.
And I do love Hans having to hold back Cushing from just, murdering this priest? Because he does seize upon him instantly here.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it is kind of like, I'm sorry, do I come to your place and start fucking up your shit?
Do I walk into your church and smack the communion wafers out of your hand? No. Then stop messing with my beating heart.
But after this, I'm going to start doing that.
I'm going to be there every Sunday.
I'm more on board for this movie, though, honestly, which is Frankenstein versus the Church. That's the movie I want to see.
Actually, that is good story material.
Yeah.
And anytime they do venture into what you're doing is against God, and then Frankenstein being coldly like, "I don't believe in your God, and I'm just uncovering something that's natural. It's science."
That dramatic tension is right there. It's baked in.
But it was left out of this recipe. For this
Instead, we get Frankenstein v. Hypnotist.
And if that was what they wanted to do, if that was the main crux of the story,
bring in the hypnotist about now.
Yeah, try not to introduce it like 15 minutes before the movie's done. You're like, what? What?
Well, they introduce him, and then you forget about him, and then you're like, wait, no, he's actually hugely important to the plot. Oh,
shit. I guess that doesn't matter.
So they get the priest out of there, and then, we do get the first of these lines, which is Cushing looking around just going, "They always destroy everything."
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, man, so we're doing poor little Frankenstein this time.
Yeah, the take here is, I'm just trying to do this wonderful thing, and why won't they just let me work?
Yeah.
Instead of, brash, arrogant, fuck your daughters kind of Baron Frankenstein we had before.
That was my Frankenstein. Those first two.
Guy was alpha. That was alpha Baron Frankenstein.
It was, and just clearly Cushing was having a blast playing that character.
Yeah, and I could see when the guys in the book say that he seems tired, I think it's really just him going, "Oh, well, okay, I'll do this version." But
and especially when the last movie set him up to be like, and he's gonna keep doing it somewhere else. This man has not learned his lesson.
This movie does give him a chance to do some awkward rear projection blue screen work.
Oh yeah, and I loved every second of that.
I did. We'll get to that. We're not there yet.
Cushing's selling it, man. He's doing his best to sell it.
So yes, the priest, they have their big fight.
Yeah, they have their big fight. Everything's destroyed, and he's like, "Oh, they always destroy everything." Hans, pack everything up. We got to get out of town. And in fact,
the first of maybe 2 or 3 times in this movie where it's like, well, I guess we'll just have to move on.
But his big thought is, I know what I'll do. I'll head back to the first town I was thrown out of, because they've probably forgotten about me by now.
Yeah, I'm wondering about the time frame of this too, because I'm like, what are we talking? Is it 5 years or is it 20? I don't quite know.
It's unclear.
And the name of that town is not one that's been in the previous movies.
Karlstad.
Thank you.
Karlstad.
Yep. He's heading back to his old ancestral home where he's been kicked out of the entire town.
Yeah.
And Hans is like, "Do you think that's smart?"
And he goes,
"Remember me."
Yeah. They won't remember me. I'm only that guy who sicked a monster on the town that terrorized everybody.
Oh, that guy who spat in the face of God and rose the dead.
They can't hold on to a grudge for that long.
Oh, I will say that this movie's version of the original events, it does make me go, really? That's the version that they drove him out of town because, I mean, really, because his creature goes on the shortest of rampages and gets shot by some hunters.
I know.
It's not even like laying waste to half the village and killing children. This is just wandering across a field and some hunters going, that thing's a monster, shoot it.
I don't even know if he killed anybody. It seemed like he was just killing animals.
Yeah, he ate a bunch of sheep, which I guess...
Because he was hungry.
He was hungry. But we haven't gotten that flashback
No,
yet.
instead we cut to our first scene of Karlstad does have the deaf-mute girl who... Does she have a name? No.
Nope.
She's Beggar Girl.
She's credited. Beggar Girl.
Yeah. This is Mary Wild as Beggar Girl, also on The Avengers, and many other BBC series throughout this era.
She's fine in this, and she's
for running around going.
Yeah. I thought that they it cracks me up always the version of it, this was the same thing with Curse of the Werewolf, where you have the poorest girl who works in the dungeon for her entire life with her father is just naturally this va-va-voomy, like, holy hell, fully make-upped, gorgeous.
Right.
That. But here we have a girl who is deaf-mute, is a beggar, and essentially all it is they show her without makeup. And her hair is kind of ratted. And I'm like, really? That's their version of the girl who lives in dirt? It's this just clean but non-makeup girl. Okay.
So yeah, she's walking around this town with a little bowl begging for food or money or whatever. And
she's teased mercilessly by local lads.
Yeah, a gang of young hooligans starts tossing her bowl around and cackling at her, which luckily she can't hear, so it's not too upsetting.
Folks, that's not a euphemism. They literally do grab her bowl and throw that around.
They do. There's no, that's what it is.
I know that you guys have heard John say, toss the bowl around, and you've gotten a different idea.
If you know what I mean.
In this case, they just grab her bowl and throw it around.
They really do.
So they're assholes. Yeah. And she gets her bowl back, escapes them, but she's right in the path of a speeding cart.
Yep. And it's old Frankenstein and Hans.
Yes.
And I like, Hans is once again going, are you sure this is a good idea? He goes, no, this is perfect. It's actually worked out even better than I thought. This is the Feast of Carnival here. So that's going to provide us all the cover. No one's going to even notice us coming through town.
Yeah, he sees that, oh shit, the town's really busy. There's carnival going on, and he actually thinks this is a good thing. They won't even pay attention to us because carnival's going on.
Yeah.
And here I'm sitting there going, oh, I see this. You have the young, handsome assistant. You have the cute, deaf-mute girl. This is their version of House of Frankenstein with the hunchback and the gypsy girl.
Right.
Okay, there'll be a romance there. I see where they're going. And we don't even get that.
No.
I mean, it's not... No.
He's like... mildly likes the deaf-mute girl on like a, I don't want to see anything bad happen to her, I guess.
He protects her, and at the end, they are together, but not together. They escape.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, great. But we also have a carnival, so that's more like House of Frankenstein.
There's a carnival going on, and I like they're looking at, they're stopped, and he's talking about the carnival, and they're like, oh, that's where we're going, over there, and there's Castle Frankenstein or whatever, and they're like, yep, there, perfect, a big old castle. And let's check that on the list of Frankenstein things.
I think it's hilarious that it's like, well, that's obviously his ancestral home. Mm-hmm. So the only way to get to that castle, which is not smack dab in the middle of town, is by going through the middle of town. You can't bypass the town.
Nope.
Okay.
But nothing really happens when they go through town, so it doesn't matter.
No, nothing does. Even though Hans was worried. We'll get spotted. And then they get to the... Wait, do they stop in town yet, or
no,
they go to the castle
to the castle first? They go to the castle first, and Frankenstein's real upset because it's not looking too good.
Well, he had already kind of, assured Hans. He's like going, oh, man, I'm telling you, we'll go to my old house. I've got all this great shit, all these paintings and rugs we can sell, and that'll give us money to get started again. And you're going to sleep in luxury, my friend, because my place is pretty well taken care of. And they get to the house, and of course it's been trashed by angry mobs and villagers and whatever.
It made me think of Breaking Bad with the Heisenberg lives here thing, and everybody had torn up his house once they knew it was spoilers for Breaking Bad.
Man.
Yeah, now I've ruined Breaking Bad for everybody. Sorry.
It's not even like the end of the show.
No.
But so that cracked me up, the whole idea that he would think in his head, after having been driven out of this town, that somehow they would have just left his place alone.
Yeah, I do like that. Well, he's gone now. Hey, should we raid his home? No, that'd be way too far.
Let's say conservatively it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
You'd still be coming back to this mansion after 10 years of dust and whatever, and I think he's dumb to think that it would all be fine.
And but yes, is the main source of his rage throughout the movie. Is that people
that
took
is
his
one
stuff.
of the main things that bugged me is that this version, not Peter Cushing the way he's playing him, but it's in the script. This version of Baron Frankenstein is stupid. Does stupid things, has stupid motivations, as you just pointed out, why he's angry, what his real goal is to get even with people who stole his junk. And I'm like, this is not the take on the character that we want.
No,
and poor Cushing
evil
has to play,
genius.
I mean, he has to play this guy like stupid to think that things would be fine, and then stupid to think once he goes back into town that, oh, are you still worried about us getting recognized? We'll put on this dumb little mask, and then gives himself away immediately because we're not there.
We'll get there. But I do like when he sees that everything's trashed and stuff is stolen, he once again says, why can't they leave me alone?
Why can't they leave me alone? Oh, he finds himself hung in effigy.
Oh, I think that's when he says it, actually. He's like, why can't they leave? Oh, we didn't get to execute him, so we'll just pretend like we did.
Hey, let's hang that dummy.
Yeah.
And put his name on it.
Yeah.
And no, his hair is different. Do the hair. That's closer. Yeah.
Now you got to do the eyes. They're not that far apart, I'm telling you. Come on.
To get really into making it as accurate as possible.
It took us 2 months to get the likeness right.
Now, hang him.
Yeah. All right, we can. Wait, who was he again? Oh, I forgot. That's what he knew. He was counting on that.
And that is kind of what he encounters.
A little bit,
so they do.
If he doesn't act like an ass, they wouldn't know who he is.
I know. He gives himself away.
And so here we go. 25 minutes of backstory. Because he goes, did I ever tell you about my first experiment? No, you never did. Well, it was years ago, And here it is. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't footage from the original movie.
No. Is this where you finally are figuring out?
This was where I'm like, okay, so we're rebooting.
We are completely rebooting.
This was because I definitely was confused by a lot of this. Thinking like, But this was where I'm like, okay, so we're just redoing this. And we have a bigger, fancier lab with lots more gizmos and gadgets in it.
It's a little closer. It's a 60s Hammer equivalent of Universal's classic lab, but with some weird-ass, like, giant light bulbs.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, all right.
And whatever, it looks like a laser cannon that ends up just being the lightning rod.
Yeah, I kept thinking, I was like, well, all right, that's a really ridiculously overdone lightning rod that goes up out of the turret, the top of the castle. And it does look very cannon-like it's a laser cannon, and it even tilts down. And I'm like, all right, when the lightning rod just has to stay vertical.
I would like it if he had just been like, well, also I had a plan to blow up the moon too, but that never really worked out.
It does look like it's pretty much like the backup plan is to use it to destroy the village and everyone.
Also,
fire the cannon.
That's the movie I want, is where Frankenstein gives up on the bodies and builds a death ray instead.
The Frankenstein that we had in those first two movies,
you would buy a death ray.
He's a mad scientist.
I will destroy the entire town. Yeah.
We didn't get that.
Yeah.
Didn't get that.
No one will stop me. This is not a no one will stop me. This is a why do they always stop me?
Why don't they leave me alone?
I just want to be alone with my monsters.
Yeah.
So some sheep get eaten. Big deal.
It really is weird that is the version that we get in this movie, that the evil of Frankenstein is he raised a creature that ate some sheep.
Yeah. And we'll talk about, once again, when he comes back and he's murdering, not his own decisions. He's under the control of somebody else.
And what a weird turn also we'll get to, is that even the guy who sent him on that mission then goes, oh, you went too far. I didn't mean for you to kill anybody.
Yeah, which is bullshit based on the way he told. Oh, we'll get to it. But I was so like, oh, come on, man.
This movie.
I'm with the monster about that misunderstanding, because I thought that's what you meant too.
This was essentially, this entire movie was a lot of, oh, come on, man. Sums up the entire thing.
It was. Yeah, that's the simple one sentence review for this movie. Oh, come on, man. So, yeah, the monster's alive. Cushing doesn't say it's alive. I was waiting for that.
Would have been so good if he had.
Oh, because he would have crushed it. He would have crushed the delivery of that.
Would have destroyed it. Yep. Yeah. And in this flashback, he's working alone, which I think is interesting, because even though he's got everything automated, I'm like, really? That's a big, heavy body, and all that equipment's got to be heavy. But no, there's no assistant in this original version, so he just sends the thing up at lightning, perfect storm, so he gets all the juice he needs. The thing comes to life, and he's like, great, I did it. And then in this flashback where we see, the creature is being fed and all this stuff, but there's really no dialogue. Like, even here, I'm like, why are you not giving us what Dr. Frankenstein would be doing with this creature, which is, I want to connect to you, I want to see how much of a brain there is in there, and teach you to read and speak. No,
because
he just sort of makes notes in a book and feeds it.
I was gonna say, like, that's the big scene, is like the monster walks towards this lamp, this flaming lamp that's hanging from the wall, and he goes and touches it, he burns his hand, he's like, ooh, it's classic fire bad. And then it's just, the camera just kind of pans over to Cushing with his notebook being like, monster doesn't like fire. Interesting. Fire bad.
Fire bad. Yeah, the close up to him just like putting two little underlines under the word bad. I thought, okay, we get it.
And then right above it, there was something about Alucard. Backwards question mark?
It was right next to wine good.
Yeah. There's something here.
I am on the cusp of a great discovery.
Fire bad, wine good. What could this mean?
This is again disappointing. Oh, and we haven't even mentioned, because very quickly after the creature is brought to life, we get the big reveal of this version of the creature.
Yeah,
this is bullshit. This is horrible makeup. For a
really
second,
bad.
I thought, okay, well, the wrappings are still on his face to some degree, and maybe that's it. Then later in the movie, realize that all the weird unevenness and the kind of layering, it's really supposed to be modeled skin, and it looks terrible. So, forehead is not. I mean, there was a reason behind Jack Pierce's flat top, sort of heavy browed. He thought it out. This thing just looks like there's a box on a guy's head.
I just pulled up the picture to look at it again here, a still of it. Yeah, it looks like a box. It looks like he took a little box, a little gift box, and painted over it.
I'm just going to say this right now to our listeners. Don't watch this movie.
No.
Unless you are a Cushing completist, and you should be, but whatever. Don't watch. So with that said, go ahead now, as we're talking, and look, just Google Evil of Frankenstein makeup or whatever and take a look at it. It is dreadful.
There will be a photo of it on our Instagram.
Sorry, Roy Ashton, R.I.P. You did some excellent work, but this thing, I don't know. Did they call you the day before? Did you get like, oh shit, the movie's greenlit? Oh, okay. Because it's just awful.
This is one of 3 cinematic appearances ever of the guy who played the creature in this. Kiwi Kingston.
The guy who played the creature in this, Kiwi Kingston, was a wrestler.
Yeah. Well, because I see his real name here was Ernest Kingston.
He got a lot of flack for this movie. He got mocked for how terrible. And I got to say, not his fault. He's a big lumbering dude. He handles a lot of the physicality okay.
They paid him to walk around and do stuff. They put this stupid makeup on him.
Yeah, that's not his fault. This is just terrible.
Nobody could have sold this makeup.
I'm sad now, John. I'm going to take a little nap. We'll finish up after I wake up, okay? Because I just can't deal with how upset I am about this.
We'll put in some little jingle in here that's like, ding, and then we're back.
And we're back.
Yeah, and we're back with the Morning Zoo crew. Yeah, talking about Evil of Frankenstein.
What's that, Mr. Fartso? Absolutely.
Let's get to the real bit. Let's get to the real nitty gritty. How big is this thing's wang?
Cut to soundbite of me so horny. Yeah, our zoo crew thing that never took off for some reason.
No, I never understood. I heard we were the fastest canceled morning show ever.
I think that's an exaggeration. Maybe second fastest.
I kept getting notes like, why are they just having conversations about old monster movies? It's really weird. They're doing it in the tone of a morning show, but they seem to just be talking about Bela Lugosi.
Oh my god! So
yeah,
it's one of the worst monster makeups you'll see in a film that's from a reputable and beloved company.
They should know better. Yeah, it does make me long for the days of Christopher Lee's makeup. Well, how good actually the Mummy makeup was really good. Speaking of Christopher Lee makeup, I like that makeup.
I liked the face makeup. Often
the makeup,
Mummy movies, they always cheat the suit, so it looks like a completely different kind of wrapping from the neck down. You're like, you're just in baggy pajamas.
Dive back into that discussion next week when we talk a little Mummy.
And that makeup looks even worse. So
we get all this stuff that's just Frankenstein observing the monster and feeding the monster. I do like Cushing just cutting off hunks of meat for this thing.
Yeah. Well, he gives the monster like a little bowl of wine or something. Like, here's liquid, and also he gives a little bowl also of like oatmeal or something.
Yeah.
Porridge, and then also a piece of meat. And I think it's supposed to be telling that the monster tries the porridge, is like,
yeah,
and then meat, good.
Yeah.
He likes that. So then the monster rises up and just goes over to where Frankenstein was cutting off the slabs from a animal carcass, and just goes to town on the animal carcass. I think that's supposed to show us, he is savage because he just likes bloody meat.
Cut to Cushing with his notebook going, meat good as well.
Porridge bad.
Yeah. I mean, porridge is pretty bland. I can't blame the creature too much.
Yeah, I know. But then, isn't this an immediate cut to?
A hard cut to Cushing following a trail of dead sheep.
Yeah, trying to find the creature who's escaped, I guess, and is out in the open.
And it really is like, he's like, dead sheep, another dead sheep, another dead sheep. What's this? A fourth dead sheep. He really is just like.
And then you see the monster hunched over a sheep with his mouth all bloody, and he's been eating.
And Cushing gives him a real, oh, monster.
And he probably just would have brought him back inside, like, don't do this ever again. But instead, there are hunters who
smacks him on the nose with a rolled up newspaper. Bad monster, bad. No, immediately, somehow. How many sheep has he killed already? Because it seems like many people are aware of what he's doing. There's already police. Guns are out.
To me, I read that more as just they were just hunters who happened on the scene.
Well, no, because there's a uniformed cop who's got his pistol out too.
Yeah, all right. So maybe the creature has eaten every sheep in the entire village or whatever.
And they're just immediately like, fucking kill that thing right now.
Just do it.
And they shoot the monster, and then Cushing runs and is like, no. And they just shoot Cushing.
Yeah, they get Frankenstein in the arm, and he's like, oh, and they both go down.
Well, the monster kind of scampers off because eventually he gets to the mountain where he'll be taken down. And then the policeman's like, you're under arrest, Frankenstein. And yeah, while they're trying to arrest Frankenstein, the monster's just like, I'm going to sneak out of here. And so he takes off. And then Cushing punches the police officer and runs away after the monster. And the monster has taken to the mountains.
As you do.
Well, because it's the Roger Ebert climbing villain theory, right? That villains or monsters in movies always go up for some reason.
Yes.
They always do. They always need to get higher.
Because also it's important as they will take a plunge. It's always they have to fall is the thing.
Right. So they always have to assume that climbing up is the getaway.
Right.
So yeah, the monster's up there, and then of course he gets shot and conceivably falls off the mountain.
Yep.
And so ends the vicious, unforgettable rampage of Frankenstein's monster.
And again, that is very weak sauce. And we've spent so long on this flashback too. And while I'm watching this, I'm going, okay, all right, so that's a version of that. Hopefully the new monster we're going to get soon will be better.
Little do we know what's coming. But I like when we come back to present day and he's telling the story to Hans. He goes, so I was thrown out of town for assaulting a police officer. Oh, and crimes against God. But he starts with assaulting a police officer. Yeah, and also crimes against God.
I love that line. I was cracking up. I was like, well, they threw me in there for assaulting a police officer and crimes against God. You know, whatever. And
and whatnot.
So good.
Some light treason as well. But anyway, they just said, get out of town and don't ever come back.
And I will say, as dumb a rampage as we saw, that's a fair sentence. Because if really the creature only ate some sheep, I can see them not burning him at the stake and just going, just get out of here.
But there were a couple townspeople who were pushing to execute this guy.
Well, it gets really boring in those towns, and they're like going, "Oh, I could so use someone burning at the stake.
Burn him!
Anything to liven up my day."
Yeah, burn him! You say that for everything. There's just a guy who's like, he stole a horse. Burn him!
Burn him! Yeah. And bury him at the crossroads.
Well, he was pilfering a little bit from the till at the local pub. Burn him! It really loses its impact, Phil, when you say burn him to everything. Burn him now!
I'll burn you! Maybe you're just a pyromaniac. Burn me!
Yeah, that's quite possible. So
this term hasn't been invented yet. Burn him!
Hates using future psychological terminology. Hate a witch. Burn him. For some reason, Victor and Hans have now gone to the carnival, and Hans is going, geez, I mean, we're really pushing it now. We're actively amongst these people.
Again, this is just more of they're showing us Frankenstein is being an idiot.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Oh, and I like that Frankenstein just like, look, fine, I'll get these masks if it'll make you feel more comfortable. But he really does it in this begrudging, like, if you're gonna be a pussy about this, then I guess you can put a mask on.
When they go into the pub and there are masks on people's faces and hung on the walls.
Yeah.
I was sitting there literally going, oh, that was in Phantom of the Opera. That I love when I can recognize props.
Yeah.
And I can only do it because we're watching these movies week to
right,
week.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like going, oh, yeah, they emptied that out. Oh,
yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
yeah, that's nice.
Because it's like, we're making another picture. Let's open up the warehouse. What do we got?
Yeah.
All right, well, exactly I've got a wolf mask in the shed. Is that good? Can we do anything with that? So
save that for the cantina.
And by the way, they're wearing these domino masks. One's a Cushing's in a green mask. Hans is in a black mask. So they're doing a little Green Hornet cosplay.
No, it's actually reversed. Frankenstein's in the black one, and Hans is in the green one. You went with Green Hornet, and all I could think of was Batman and Robin.
Sure.
Because you got the younger, handsome one in the green mask, and the older guy is in the black mask, and I was like, oh, look at him. It's cute.
And
so they have done this for no other reason than to go into town and enjoy themselves, have a dinner at the local pub.
We're back
Frankenstein's a real asshole customer, too.
He is. Well, we're back to number one, Hammer favorite, busy pub.
Can't get enough.
Gotta have it. But yeah, right away, they sit down, and instantly he's like, waiter, excuse me, you gonna take the place is packed. And as soon as his butt is in the seat, he's like, hey, where's my fucking menu, man?
And he's like, I'm sorry, it's the carnival, it's been really busy. He's like, yeah, great, but we are paying customers and I want some fucking service. And he's like, we'll have this, we'll have these drinks, and get on it. Chop.
Yeah. Speedy, you're on the clock, buddy.
So while they're sitting there and Hans is embarrassed, like, Jesus, this guy, I can't take him anywhere. Frankenstein's noticing a raucous little get together in I guess the VIP room, off separated by a bead curtain or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's the old Burgermeister that he remembers from back in the day.
He says,
and
my old friend, the Burgermeister.
And the police captain, whatever, who's now the head of
the police chief, I believe he says.
Yeah, it's like now he's the police chief.
Yeah.
And he's like, I hate those motherfuckers. They don't even know I'm sitting here. And then he sees his ring.
Yeah. He's like, oh man, see, they don't even recognize. That's my ring. And he stands up and he's like, you thief, you stole my ring. He literally does.
This guy who knows he has to keep a low profile because he was driven out of town however many years ago, just gets up and is like, that's my goddamn motherfucking ring.
And then basically is like, that's my ring. And the Burgermeister's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He fucking tosses the mask. He's like, you remember this face? He really is just like, that's my fucking ring. Victor fucking Frankenstein, pal.
Oh man, it's such a dumb way.
And
for
the
this
Burgermeister is
to
like,
be.
oh yeah, wait a minute, we kicked you out.
That guy, we kicked you out, and we stole all your junk.
And then the chief is like, and look, well, and then Victor's like, all right, that's it. And he brings the police chief over. He goes, arrest this man. That's my ring. He stole it. And the police chief's like, I'm gonna arrest you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh fuck, cheese it, Hans, we're out of here. And then,
I really didn't see that backfiring on me.
Then a chase ensues. I couldn't believe it. And they take refuge in the hypnotist show.
Right. Because it is a carnival, there is a traveling, performing hypnotist.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to, unfortunately, watch enough of his act. I was sitting there going, oh, don't. But we get the tail end of him making a guy think he's a chicken and all this. I'm like, great.
Well, he makes him think he's Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, I was getting to that.
Yeah.
He's a chicken. He's laid an egg. Sticks a pin in him. Classic. And he doesn't react. Classic. Oh, that's a good one. And then he says, now I want you to be the monster, the terrible monster of Frankenstein, which immediately makes me think, what did we not see in that flashback? Because it looks like the monster Frankenstein spent about 2 days of life eating sheep,
and also
in a secluded part of this place. Yeah. So how is this now like
there were like two witnesses to it ever existing?
Yeah, so how is this a pop culture reference that anyone would be like, right, I do the arms out in front and I do the
because yeah, and this guy is like a traveler conceivably with this act. He's not even from this town.
Made me mad.
I do have a hypnotist story that I can share real quick, which is
really,
yeah. When I graduated from high school, after graduation, the Parents Association or whatever threw us an all-night grad party. That was the thing. They wanted to keep people from drinking and doing drugs. So they
I'm sure that worked.
Yeah, they took us to like some kind of community center somewhere. And anyway, there were activities all around and stuff like that you could play games and stuff. And then it's all night. Keep this in mind. At about 3 or 4 in the morning, they're like, everybody gather round. The hypnotist is starting his show.
3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's when you want to have a hypnotist act come on.
And so, yeah, this guy comes out and does like an hour-long hypnotist act that we're all required to watch. All the graduating seniors. And it was
because they paid this guy and they're going to get their goddamn money's worth.
That even better, though, I kind of wish this had been the case. When my sister graduated 3 years later, it was the same party, only they got an improv troupe to perform at 4 in the morning. Which that would have been really cringe-inducing, I feel like.
Who's still awake? Okay, great. Give me a location and an occupation.
Oh, I don't remember much of the hypnotist act because I was delirious at this point.
Of course.
Yeah. The only thing I remember is my friend Anthony got picked, and he got hypnotized. They brought up like 4 people. He got hypnotized. And
he's never been the same.
He's still not. We haven't heard from him in a while. No, but the guy goes, "Oh, what's this?" There's a girl sitting next to Anthony. He goes, "Oh, what's this? You can't believe it. You're amazed. It's Angelina Jolie sitting next to you." Oh, and everybody applauds. And Anthony just turns full out, puts his hands, and goes for the boob grab. And he's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Are you serious?
Yeah, the hypnotist. Yeah, because he's like, "Oh, I guess so then." And
wow.
Yeah. That's the kind
says
of
a lot about your friend.
Yeah, I don't hang out with Anthony too much anymore.
And hopefully, he's not listening to this podcast.
Well, they don't.
We're going to mock him ceaselessly.
They don't allow podcasts in prison. No, he's not in prison. But I just like the hypnotist in no way was expecting that reaction. Clearly, was like, "Yo, stop it!"
Oh my God! And then he looks at it and goes, "Now I see the consequences of this terrible power."
Yeah. Then the guy just had an existential crisis in front of us. Oh my God, what have I done?
I treated this far too lightly. I have a responsibility.
Dabble in the darkness of magic. I was told there'd be consequences.
I must now travel the earth to make amends.
But anyway, every time I see hypnotist in anything, I think of that. And he was just, it's such hackneyed, lame, like,
it was hackneyed even in the 18 whatevers these are.
Yeah, this we meet Professor Zoltan.
Zoltan, who doesn't look or sound like a Zoltan, but
no. But isn't this the same guy that made Tom Hanks big?
Zoltan, the mechanical gypsy fortune teller machine. You're right.
Yeah, that's all I could think about when I saw Zoltan.
That would have been an interesting thing in this movie, but that didn't happen.
No, instead, this character is not interesting at all.
Not really. Again, and the actor's doing his best, but essentially, it's one of those things where they're hiding in the crowd, Frankenstein and Hans, and of course the hypnotist goes, "I need 2 volunteers next," and you guys right there will do. You in the masks.
Yeah. So Victor and Hans come up on stage. The police come in and they're like, "We're looking for these people." And the hypnotist is like, "You're interrupting my show. How dare you? You're ruining the carnival for all." And so they are saved. I don't think he actually does anything to them that we see.
No, we really don't. It's like, I wanted to see what the act was. I was like, what are you going to make them to do?
Well, yeah, now we got our main characters involved in this hypnosis, but we don't actually see that. We just see him chide the police for interrupting the show, to which the cops are like, oh, terribly sorry.
You could have had Dr. Frankenstein imitate the Frankenstein monster. That would have been great.
Then that could have really plagued him for the rest of the movie. Like, he felt for those minutes he was seen through his own creation's eyes. I don't know. There was something there.
Something there that was not explored.
Yeah. I mean, look, fucking anything would have benefited this movie, really, even as dumb as what we just said. Anything, kind of themes or, plot threads or anything. There's just nothing here.
No, there really isn't.
Yeah.
But we have introduced this character fairly quickly, then gotten rid of him because.
Please remember him. He'll be back in like 50 minutes.
He'll be back.
Yeah, in quite a while though. There's gonna be another.
First things first.
We got to go home with the Burgermeister and his buxom blonde wife. Yeah, it is his wife in the credits.
Played by John's favorite model turned actress, Karen.
25% off right now at KarenGardner.com on our no. Just use promo code
Hottie.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any dialogue. She is buxom and blonde.
Yeah.
And she does. When did she give Frankenstein the look? Was it in the?
It's later when he busts in and escapes here.
Right.
But first off, she did a few episodes of The Saint. And actually, apparently, she has an uncredited role in another Frankenstein movie later.
Nice.
But I know what you know what I want to talk about, and it's something that's going to take us back into the 007 corner.
It's good though.
It is good. Yes, she is in Goldfinger as part of Pussy Galore's flying circus.
It's not the way it is in the books, but then again, none of the movies are like the books. But there's just something about Honor Blackman, Pussy Galore, and her all-female lesbian fighter pilot squadron. I love Pussy Galore's Flying Circus.
I do too.
That was going to be the name of my band. No, it wasn't. But it's great. So she is one of the female pilots.
Yeah, in their little matching outfits.
Her little matching outfits. And the whole thing about I of course have watched plenty of makings of and so forth. And the whole idea of obviously none of the models that they hired, because they don't have any dialogue in the movie, but none of them could fly, obviously. Right. So all the plane shots are of these male pilots wearing wigs. It just cracks me up. Every time you see the planes flying in Goldfinger, it's just these guys going, Barry, you're gonna have to back off. You're gonna want to stay in line with the. It's just like
hang on, my wig slipped. I gotta move it out of my eyes. I will say there are multiple. As I said, I did the Google search on Karen Gardner. There are multiple pictures of her at conventions signing pictures of herself from Goldfinger.
Nice.
Which I guess that's something people might want.
Well, we've mentioned often our good friend Matt Gorley, who we've not met and is not our friend, but
he's welcome on the show anytime he wants.
Anytime. But he also had an amazing podcast called I Was There Too.
Yes.
Which he, the core concept was interview people who had small parts in classic scenes of classic films. Mm-hmm. And because he's such a huge Bond fan, he actually did in one episode interview one of Pussy Galore's Flying Circus, not Karen Gardner, but an American, and she, not an actress. I think she had won some beauty pageants, but she was one of them. And he's just such a huge Bond fan because he also does a Bond podcast.
Yep,
James Bonding.
Highly recommend that.
He's just over the moon interviewing her. Yeah. And she doesn't have a lot to tell him, but the little bits, he's just giddy. It's well worth a listen.
Oh, she did she also did a Danger Man as well.
That's getting around, hitting some of the big names.
And did a Roger Moore movie called The Fiction Makers. So, that's a Saint movie.
Oh, more than likely it was one of those where they took episodes and fused them together to make a feature.
Probably what happened here. Yes. All right. So, yes, that was the Bond corner. Anyway, very exciting part of Pussy Galore's Flying Circus. So anyway, he's readying for bed. He's putting his little cap on, which I enjoy always when they're sleeping cap. And he's talking to her about this. And all of a sudden,
but that's also painful comedy beat. Like they're playing cute music while he keeps adjusting his sleeping cap, and I'm like, what are you going for here? Why in this Frankenstein movie is this supposed to be amusing? That he's like going, one moment, darling, and he just keeps fussing with his little sleeping cap, and I'm like, stop it, movie, stop it.
Yeah,
the movie didn't stop it.
The movie did not stop, but this whole scene, they're readying for bed. And the door to this room just gets kicked open, and it's fucking Victor Frankenstein, who's like, that's my
Give
bed.
Me my shit.
That's my whatever. He's just like, that's mine, and that's mine. You give it back, you son of a bitch.
That is, again, why this film is turning on plot points like this. I don't even understand. I don't understand the writing on the page of someone going, and here's our scene where he busts in to get his stuff. It's like, what is this, an ex-girlfriend's house? Like, I want my jacket back. I want those jeans that fit me right. You keep saying, they fit me better. Those are my jeans. I want all my CDs. You don't even like the Dave Matthews Band. I love them. Give me back my... What the hell is this?
I need a 20-minute jam session sometimes.
It's just so dumb that this is part of this movie.
It is, because it's about this point when I'm going, is this guy going to build a monster?
Yeah, I know. You're sitting in the back, just like, excuse me, with your hand raised. Will there be a monster at some point?
This seems like this is just a sad, petty man who wants his shit back. But my favorite is the Burgermeister's wife does scream here, and he just goes, "Be quiet, woman." And I think that's the first part where she's like, "Ooh."
Mm-hmm.
She sort of likes the way he talks to her.
He shuts her down, and she's like, "Wow, that's what a real man looks like."
Burgermeister never talks to me like that.
And actually, that's us giving her more dialogue than she has in this movie, because she has none.
She has none. She screams and then gives alluring looks. And then the police chief, who must live nearby, rushes in here and is like, "That's it. Now I am going to arrest you, Frankenstein." And Frankenstein just runs into the bedroom and locks the door, and they're pounding to get in there. And like I said, the Burgermeister's wife doesn't mind being locked in this bedroom with Frankenstein.
No, and that's cute enough. But again, what is this? Why?
Yeah, how does this get us closer to a monster? The movie had me in the beginning. I thought, oh man, we're starting off right away. Here we go, building a monster,
chopping up, digging some hearts out of chests. This is what I'm on board with.
Frankenstein's doing Frankenstein shit.
This is him trying to get his stuff.
And then the cops show up, so he just immediately abandons said plan to get his stuff back, makes a rope out of bed sheets, and climbs out the window. This is
one of the most embarrassing moments for Victor Frankenstein in these films. He's like, "Ooh, I'll shimmy out and I'll make the rope of bed sheets." I'm like, "Oh, Peter Cushing, you deserve so much better than escaping out a bedroom window with bed sheets."
Yes, absolutely. But when because his weight is attached to the bed, pulls the bed towards the window, and Karen Gardner gives this like, "Ooh, hoo, hoo."
It's just painful.
This scene is dumb.
They're trying to be cute, and I don't
want cute. I don't want cute in these movies. Never. No. Never with the cute.
Never.
And so then,
I don't know if I've made my position clear enough, John, to where I stand. We're anti this stuff that's happening in this movie.
We're not a fan. No. So then Victor and Hans decide we just got to take off to the mountains.
Yeah. Yeah, cheese it. It's the cops. They're on our trail. So we have to abandon even the junked out chateau and head for the mountains.
Which they do. They head to the mountains.
But a storm's a-coming.
They're like, oh no, what are we going to do? And this is where they meet up with the beggar girl.
Who we've forgotten about because it's been several minutes. But now she pops out from between the rocks and waves them over. Yeah. Like, come here, I've got shelter. She can't say anything, obviously. They're like, I think she wants us to follow her.
Yeah, exactly.
And they go in the cave, and she has made, like a hay bed kind of thing. And it's like, oh, here's shelter from the storm. And they quickly figure out, oh, yeah, she's deaf mute.
Yeah. Because Hans is trying to talk to her, and yeah, Victor's just like, oh, don't bother. She can't hear you.
She can't hear you. She's deaf mute.
She, hang on.
And we don't know why she's protecting them either, or why she...
No, and then she's got bread with her that presumably...
I know, and she offers them the bread, and then I guess Hans is feeling very chivalrous and is like, but do you have enough for yourself?
Yeah. And that's when he says, she can't hear you. Just eat the bread.
She can't hear you. Enough with your jibber jabber at her. So if they had saved her from something, and she felt obligated but I just don't understand this where it's like, I don't know.
Like, they had the opportunity to do that, right? With the bullies teasing her. If they had come in and been like, now knock that off, you young hooligans,
Nope. In fact, they almost ran her over. But,
quite the opposite. They actively put her life in jeopardy.
Yes. But somehow in this little scene, she has now become like the third wheel here. She's become their associate.
She's part of the team
and friend.
The rest of the movie.
She's part of the team the rest of the movie. And she's given them shelter and they kind of leave her alone or whatever because
They just decide, all right, everybody, time to sleep now.
But they find her...
No. They go to sleep. It fades to black and fades back in.
Oh, okay. Time has passed.
Which I'm like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
First, let's get some rest.
They hear her, or at least Frankenstein does.
Yeah.
She makes noise, and it's like she's having a conversation without words, but she's just going talking to someone.
Yeah, like that,
yeah. And there's light where she is. So Frankenstein, curious, goes back there and sees one of the worst pieces of stagecraft I've ever seen. Sees essentially his original monster is frozen in ice, or if your Hammer films in 1964, they see the creature basically hanging above some cellophane.
The way he's like tilted, he's horizontal, and he's like, ah.
Yeah, frozen, quote unquote, and like the light is sunlight coming through a gap in the rocks and into the ice, but it's just clearly plastic wrap. And like they wet the outside of it, and you're like, no.
Oh, no, it's bad. It's really bad.
And again, I'm feeling bad for Cushing because he's such a great actor, but he's having to look at it like he has this expression like, oh my God, it's my creature.
Oh,
and he's
like, this is great. Hans, you have no idea how good this is. Like, this is
what do we do now? He's like, well, we thaw him out.
Yeah.
They set a fire underneath the ice.
And as soon as I see a Frankenstein creature encased in ice, we really are just playing the hits of Universal here.
It is so just like, yeah, we've been here before.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, Universal in 1940 whatever.
Yeah.
Did a better job of frozen creature in ice. True, that was black and white.
They did, but as I'm realizing they're just using the Universal things, I'm like, no, because those movies were bad. Like, by the time you get to the monster in ice, those are the bad ones, you guys.
It's true, but I can only say that I was already feeling that by this point. Before this point, I was always like, oh no, we're on a bad track.
They're taken from the wrong Frankenstein movies, man. No.
Well, I thought the thing they did so successfully, and it's sad that the Universal deal seems to have been a mistake, is that they were going their own way. And was it accurate to the source material, which is usually my thing? No, not really. But
it was a definitive, this is our version of this character.
Right. Totally unbeholden to the Universal films and unbeholden to Mary Shelley. They were just doing their own thing, and I was enjoying it. But no, this is just a hodgepodge of greatest hits, and it doesn't work.
Oh, and like I said, the not so greatest hits, a lot of it too.
Not so greatest hits.
Dennis Miller's back. And well, not so good on the Frankenstein pictures, am I right?
Frozen in ice, babe. I can't even do it. All I know is I would have welcomed Dennis Miller walking into this film.
This movie needed a shot of Miller, you know?
Yeah, it's like,
and babe, what's going on? You built the guy out of dead body parts? That's pretty wild, babe.
Bring on Leslie Nielsen, because this movie, I'm taking about as seriously as Dracula Dead and loving it. It's
I mean, at this by this point, I've fully checked out. It's like, okay, I see what we're dealing with here.
So they set a fire, they thaw out the creature, and this cracked me up because it is like a day later. The storm has passed. And so then they're getting the creature out of the cave. Okay, they thawed this thing out of ice. The creature's clothes are dry. Where did they get the stretcher?
And then
I'm just like, wow, how is this working?
And then Frankenstein, Hans, and the deaf girl pull this big ass monster down the side of a mountain to Frankenstein's castle, where they get him up on the operating table, and they go, "Hey, we gotta bring this sucker back to life."
You know what? We gotta,
but it is.
We gotta bring this guy back.
It is almost like when he finds it, Frankenstein is like, "Hans, this is gonna save us so much time."
Yeah, I don't have to start with any other corpses. I don't have to hire some creepy dude. Granted, it's a specialty, but we don't have to hire some guy to steal.
I was still available, Dr. Frankenstein. Come on. I could scrounge up an arm or something for you, right?
Are you sure you could use all of that guy?
Maybe some of it's bad and you need, I don't know, a fresh nose or something, maybe.
Fresh nose?
I've got fresh nose. Just in. I'm still waiting on a shipment of ears.
100% fresh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my shipment of ears got delayed, though. It's just it's the breaks of the game.
And you know what? I'm your friend. Stay away from the spleens. I'm being totally honest. They are gone.
Yeah.
They are over.
Wait,
skip the spleens.
Half off on day-old spleens. And his heart, it ain't so good.
The part of me that held out any hope for this movie turning around, once it becomes, let's just resurrect the previously terrible makeup monster. I'm like, no, don't. But that is now what they do.
Well, they light this thing up. They electrocute the hell out of it. And they go, wow, look at this. It's weird. Why isn't he getting up? Why isn't he active? Everything's working. Oh, but his brain isn't working. That's the problem. He's brain dead, essentially.
Okay, every Frankenstein movie is going to play fast and loose with stupid science. But this whole thing of all of his metabolism and everything is totally right. I mean, he's just throwing out words. You're like, right. Yeah, but the brain. And then he's like, yeah, I don't know what to do for the brain. Oh, I got it. Let's go find a master of the brain, a.k.a. a hypnotist.
I thought at this point when he said this, I thought, oh, this is going to be another brain swap movie? That was my first thought. Because I thought it's going to be like Hans I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm still based on the evil genius Frankenstein who would have just killed Hans and taken the brain.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, are we going to get a new brain from somebody in the cast? I even thought for half a second they would do something very weird and experimental and have it be the deaf mute girl.
Yeah, sure. Like, because why else is she here?
Right. Pretty much. But no, instead, all it is we need someone to wake up this brain. So let's go find the hypnotist because we know that works scientifically.
A man of pure science who's like, you stupid people and your belief in God is like, but hypnotism, that shit's totally real.
That shit's totally real and would work on essentially a brain dead creature. Mm-hmm. So let's go get that guy.
By the way, based on this information, why don't we have hypnotists on staff in hospitals for brain dead patients? They can just bring them back.
You bring up such a good point.
I know.
I don't know.
That's a huge gap in the modern medical system.
It's weird that a movie made in 1964 brings up such a valid point of medicine really and why no one has followed that through.
This is a think piece, really. This movie
is a think piece. That is what I would call it, indeed.
So, Victor goes to Zoltan.
Oh,
hey, Zoltan, can you help me with my monster?
It's hard to even say.
The second we have a character named Zoltan running around the movie.
And he does say, like, he's like, well, so you want to hire me to hypnotize somebody? Because, you know, sure, I do parties.
But I do like that he goes, hey, but no women, all right? I can't hypnotize a woman into getting with you, all right? That's not good. Because he said there's already enough heat on me.
Yeah. He's like, I've gotten into, let's just say, some trouble elsewhere. And, yeah.
I've got 2 strikes already, Frankenstein. Yeah.
I gotta say though, once they do hire him and they bring him to the creature, Zoltan rolls with it pretty. I mean, you just go, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah, what the hell? And then he's like, "Oh well, brain's a brain, whatever. I'll hypnotize him."
He's like, "All right, you're paying," and he's like, "Listen to my voice. Listen to the sound of my voice.
Sleep, creature, sleep." He puts the creature to sleep, and they're like, "See, I put him to sleep." And Frankenstein's like, "That's great. That's not what I wanted you to do. Please wake him up."
Perfect.
And so they wake him up, and the creature starts flipping out. And they're like, "Oh!" And Frankenstein's like, "No, it worked. I just did surgery on his brain, so it's not healed. So that's why he's not happy right now." And the deaf woman we cut to, and she's very concerned about the monster. You can see on her face, "Oh no, that poor creature."
I will say that supposedly there were drafts of the story that did connect the deaf mute girl and the creature, like sort of like the original Frankenstein Universal, but instead of the monster killing her, they had sort of bonded. So in a weird, that's why she was kind of gibbering at it, like it's her friend.
There are moments in the movie where I thought that's where it was going. It seemed like,
but they didn't.
It just kind of like it. But there's a couple scenes where that they go that way, and then they're just like, nah. Yep. Whatever, just veers away from that. It doesn't really matter. The deaf girl is so unimportant to this movie.
Yeah, sadly, it's true. Because technically, she is our only featured female part, apart from
Buxom Burgermeister wife. That's a great character.
We see her twice.
But she was so buxom.
And saucy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you, man, those photos, they are saucy.
They are indeed.
So, now Frankenstein is like, so anyway, great job, Zoltan. Let's go have a drink. And they're drinking, and he's just like, this is great. We really should be drinking champagne, but whatever, we're having whiskey. And Zoltan's saying, it sure is great. You can take this thing all around the world and show them off to people.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because Zoltan's now essentially saying, hey, you got yourself a pretty sweet act. You could take this around. And Frankenstein is so delightfully offended.
Yeah.
Like,
you could, I don't know, you could dress him up in tux and tails and sing Putting on the Ritz, maybe. That's all I could think about when he was saying you could put on an act with this thing.
Holy shit. Oh. Ladies and
free.
gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, Damen und Herren, from what was once an inarticulate mass of lifeless tissue, I present a charming, sophisticated man about town. Hit it.
Yep. That's the best movie.
That is gold in your hand.
Yeah.
It is so.
That's another one of those that just you can watch it a million times and it's still funny.
Kills.
Yeah.
Kills.
Anyway, a better Frankenstein movie than this too. Legitimately a better Frankenstein movie than this.
Word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with better makeup.
Yes. Peter Boyle looks way better than this. So yeah, and he's incensed by this assertion that he might take this creature on the road. How dare you?
Yeah, it's like, this is my life's work. This is my great accomplishment, and it's not an act.
Well, let me ask you this, though. What does he want to do with the monster?
I know. It's something that some of these movies bring up. Like, all right, what's the end game here? Is just to, eventually teach it enough to where he's pretty sure he can impress people without them being freaked out that it's a reanimated corpse.
Yeah.
I guess to just study it and then, basically come out and say, I have done something more astonishing than any scientist ever.
Is it just so that he can pass on society and everybody likes him? They go, hey, that guy's all right. And he's like, hey, that guy's a bunch of dead people sewn together.
Hey, you never saw this coming, right?
Yeah.
Totally a bunch of dead people.
Yeah.
No, I'm not even lying.
That's the ta-da of this for Victor Frankenstein. And he's just like, he's a member of society? Well, guess what? He's a reanimated pile of corpses. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
I brought him to life with electricity. Yeah. Lightning.
But just for the fact that this guy talks about taking it around as an act, and for Victor to be this incensed, it feels like he should have a clear vision of what he is going to do with it if he's rejecting one path wholeheartedly.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done something with this dynamic between the two characters, because it does boil down to, in the end, very weakly spelled out in a very bad screenplay.
It would have been nice if Zoltan was trying to steal the monster to use it for entertainment purposes, not turn it into a weapon to get revenge.
Right. They're also framing it as almost like sort of their philosophical poles of one person, this is for the betterment of humanity, and another person saying, this is for the betterment of me.
Right.
Or, it's like, here's the practical, materialistic thing you can do. And the other person's saying, no, it's the principle of the thing. You could work with that. You could build those themes. Instead, this literally just goes...
Yeah, you've pitched a theme, which the movie does not have.
It doesn't have. Instead, it's just like, no, I don't want to do that. And the other guy going, you totally should, because that'd be sweet, and you get a lot of money. Yeah, I don't want to do that. All right, man. Whatever. I know I can control it whenever I want, but I won't let on. So whatever, I'm going to drink your crappy whiskey. And they hang out. So we find out Zoltan likes the drink. He gets a little tipsy.
He does.
And then hangs out.
He does. And he goes, he can be shown all around the world. And they're like, hey, let's go take the monster for a test drive, basically is what Victor says. And he's like, he'll follow all my commands. He can understand me now. And Zoltan says, oh, he'll understand you. He just won't obey you.
Yeah.
And Victor's like, I don't know what that means. Monster, get over here. And the monster doesn't do anything. Monster won't stand up, won't listen to any of Victor's commands until Zoltan says, do whatever he asks.
I know. And then, I mean, that, again, that could be kind of cool.
At this point, I thought, ooh, okay. Where's this going? This is an interesting idea.
Zoltan's hypnotism is so powerful that essentially he's the only person that the monster will listen to, not even his creator.
Right. That's interesting. They don't do anything with this.
Yeah,
they do something really stupid with it.
I mean, they use it to propel what exists in the plot.
Here's the thing that really gets me about this. He wants the same thing Victor wants, which is revenge against the exact same people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Victor is trying to stop said revenge against the people he was raging against earlier.
I mean, technically, what Zoltan will have the creature do, with the exception of the fact that he steals things, he steals valuables for a little bit. I mean, for one of the big monster missions, why isn't he just like, why isn't Victor going, could he go get my ring and my stuff from the Burgermeister? But I mean, again, yeah, it's this weird turn where Frankenstein is now, clear-headed and principled, and why won't they just leave me alone? He has his monster up and running, and it's no longer about I want to get my stuff.
Let me pitch you a move to fix this movie.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Take Zoltan out entirely.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Didn't like. Yeah, it's crap. Shit.
Frankenstein revives the creature. It does obey his commands. He starts using it to get his shit back, to get revenge on these people. And Hans is our heroic character going, that's not why we built this thing. That wasn't the point of this. You're using this to personal. Yeah, I think that would have been a more interesting.
Turning the creature into a personal tool instead of the high-minded scientific goal.
Because then you actually pay off his rage at the people of the town and all this, and he's using it now as a weapon. You've built a weapon.
John Campbell, I'm liking this. You know what? I'm gonna get them on the phone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get them on speaker, and let's hash this out because this is a bold new direction for this draft. They're all long dead.
Yeah. Hines isn't still with us? No.
I'm pretty sure everyone involved dead.
Yeah.
Except for maybe that lady, because she's got her website up and running.
And the deaf lady's still alive, too.
Good for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, okay, we're not trying to crap on her performance. She's doing what she can. She has no character, no real motivation. She's cute and attractive, and I assume she is a good actor who has a nothing part in this movie. It's a shame, because like we've said, she is the female in this movie.
Yeah.
And you always hope that there's someone who's going to give as good as they get and be a strong central character. Nope, she's not. She's just there.
She's absolutely nothing.
She's there also uncomfortably to be creepily hit on by drunken Zoltan.
Oh, yeah, Zoltan wants a piece. Zoltan turns into
Guys, that will not be the new t-shirt for this podcast. Don't start pitching us a Zoltan wants a piece t-shirt.
I know. We just want to get ahead of that because we know the emails are coming.
Yeah. Sorry, T-Public has already turned down the design.
Yeah.
For Zoltan.
They said no way in hell are we going to print this. It would, you know what though? I am kind of imagining the funny shirt of the drunk leering image of Zoltan being like, Zoltan wants a piece.
Look into my eyes. Zoltan wants a piece.
Doesn't take a hypnotist to know what Zoltan's thinking about. Am I right?
Jesus.
And if he's such a powerful hypnotist, couldn't he just hypnotize her into wanting him as well?
I think that's one thing that struck me as funny about that scene is hypnotism is a lot about the rhythm and tone of voice. So a lot of it is sonic based, and a lot of it is also, of course, focus here, look in my eyes. So it is, you need both the sound and the eye connection. The sound isn't going to work on a deaf person. I don't think deaf people can be hypnotized.
That's a fair point. I do like, I mean, I don't like this, but the scene where he intimidates her, he's like, yeah, that's right. I could grab you. And then he's just like, I won't. Basically going like, I could do whatever I want to. I just don't feel like it right now.
Not gonna.
Yeah. All of a sudden, Zoltan is like the biggest creep in the world.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like if this was the goal, and the goal was, the antagonist is not who you expect. It's not going to be Dr. Frankenstein this time. It's going to be this guy. You have to build this character up. He has to have been important until, in this case, they just dropped him into this movie late in the day, and now he's our bad guy.
No, because after he finishes intimidating this deaf girl and harassing her, he just goes right to the monster. He goes, hey, come here, monster. I got a little something for you to do, all right?
Yeah.
You need to get me, you need to head into town And you need to get me all the gold you can find.
I know. It's just so weird. He's like, all right, well, let's see. Implied possible rape for the future. I've gotten that done today. Oh, I want all the gold from town, so I'm going to have the monster go get me some gold.
And the monster just heads into town, and we see the monster walking through the streets of town, just holding like chalices, candle holders, a big gold cross.
Well, he says, go get me gold, and he goes, and I can tell you where the good stuff is. So basically, he just said, go to the church, because that's where all the really sweet gold.
He's just got an armful of church gold.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not broad daylight; it's like the middle of the night. But and there is a witness.
A drunk guy who's being thrown out of a bar because he's had too many.
He's had too many. So there is a witness, but it is kind of just sort of blatant. You have this gigantic box-headed thing walking through town holding all the church's gold. But will the townspeople believe this drunk?
Of course
I don't
not.
think so.
Well, because he immediately starts pounding on the door to get back in the bar. He's like, let me back in. They're like, all right, we said you had enough.
And when he's talking to the cops and telling them, it's like, oh, he was 10 foot tall. He goes, no, it's like 12 foot tall.
Scratch that, 15 foot tall. No, wait, I revise it again. 18 foot tall.
You see that tree? Yeah. He was like 3 of those trees.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of like 2 3/4. I just like that he keeps like, now I gotta be more exact. Let me zero it in. I was more of a guess, so it's probably more about here. Yeah.
Are you saying he was tall? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. By anyone's definition of tall.
He had a box for a head.
Yeah. A big old box.
Like a shipping crate or something you'd put biscuits in. A biscuit tin head.
In fact, I think we should call him Biscuit Tin Head. Let the paper know.
The evil of Biscuit Tin Head.
That was when Hammer was really off the rails when they were making the Biscuit Tin Head series.
That was the last days of the studio.
So then Hans goes to Victor and he's like, hey, are we really going to work with this creepy hypnotist? And he's just like, well, we'll pull him along for now, but, then nothing. He has no plan after that. He's just like, we'll just go with him for now and then I guess figure it out.
This isn't about a plan at any point here. No. It just like you said, there's no indication that there is any kind of end game for Frankenstein and his creature. He's happy he's back. That's about it.
Yep. So then this scene confused me because the deaf girl's walking around and she sees Zoltan talking to the monster and she stops and is like, oh my God, because he's telling the creature, what I want you to do now is go punish all the people who were mean to me. You're going to punish this person. You're going to punish the Burgermeister. You're going to punish the chief of police. And she's reacting like, oh my God. But I'm going, she can't hear what he's saying.
I know.
But she's acting like, oh no.
I guess the implication is just she can tell that the creature is being influenced by someone that she does know to be a disreputable, creepy guy who tried to hit on her.
Yep.
So I think she just is like, why would he be talking to my friend, the creature? It doesn't make sense that she's deaf mute. Nope. It doesn't help the story, and it in fact gets in the story's way.
And he proceeds to harass her a little bit more in this scene too.
Yep. He's not done harassing her.
Nope.
You guys worried about that.
We then cut back to the Burgermeister's house, the door of which is crashed into yet again, crashed through by the creature, just busts into his room.
I just had that replaced.
And he's like, what's all this then? No,
No, we don't get a what's all this then. That would have made me very happy, but we did not.
Was that Curse of the Werewolf that had an actual what's all this then?
What's all this?
Because we always talk about the what's all this then scene, but that movie actually I would
had the actual.
No.
And on that day, everyone rejoiced. There was great joy in the land.
No, instead, the monster just picks the Burgermeister up out of bed and bashes him against a wall until he's dead. I like this.
I was about to say, I liked that too. I was like, it's not as gory, again, as they would have done it today.
No, but in concept, it's so violent.
In concept, it's pretty great because this enormous dude who's cast well, it's a big guy wearing a box on his head, literally just picks a person up like they're nothing.
Do we really need to put the box on my head?
Slams this guy against the wall.
Well, it's how I imagine the creature. Yeah, there's blood. That's how I imagine the creature would kill. We always had him strangling people. I like this because it's just like, because it's very animalistic and not with a lot of thought. It's just, I'm big, I'm going to bash you into this thing until you're dead.
Whacking a stick against a brick wall. I like it.
I like it too.
All right, we're on board with this. Yay!
Once a brutal murder happens, we're like, hey, here we go.
Well, okay. Listen, we're not creeps. Yeah. But I think we've made it clear we like our monsters to be monstery, to do monstrous things, to be evil, and I do like a sympathetic Frankenstein's monster, but even then, I like Frankenstein's monster that you can't predict, and there is violence there and the threat of maybe not intentioned, but death.
But I'll tell you what I don't like: a Frankenstein monster under somebody's thumb doing his bidding.
Well, it's just like the problem with the Mummy movies. I strongly against monsters having no agency, having no autonomy, so they're just tools. It's people send out to do their stuff. I'm like, don't.
Because what's the point, man? I'm here for the monster. I'm
here for the monster.
Not some rando villain.
They want to do bad.
But also, we don't know anything about Zoltan having a problem with the Burgermeister or the chief of police.
That's true. That this whole thing is sort of like just for the convenience of the plot.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that police busted into his performance and he's like, get out of here. What's his history with them? What history does he have with the Burgermeister?
Yeah, I don't know. That would have been, that's why I'm saying it should be Frankenstein sending the monster to kill people. But anyway, this next scene,
I have already red penned the draft.
Thank you.
I've worked it. We'll work your changes in. I like where you're going with
this. All right. Thank you. This second murder of his, not great. Because he goes to the police station to kill the police chief, only the police chief isn't there. There's a constable who has taken out the police chief's uniform and is pretending to be the police chief. And by the way, in his greatest fantasy, this guy who's like, I'm the police chief, he's going, get out of the way for the Burgermeister. You, step aside. The Burgermeister is coming through. He's like, that's my dream, to clear crowds for the Burgermeister. Isn't that what he's probably already doing as just an officer?
Yeah.
Like, this guy makes me sad.
Except for the fact that he isn't the Burgermeister. So it's the change of just the verbiage.
And then the creature comes in and kills him because he thinks it's the police chief because he's holding up the police chief's uniform on a coat hanger and is talking like the police chief, so he gets murdered.
Yeah, well, the creature doesn't have a very clear understanding of everyone's role
enough to know what and where the Burgermeister is and what and where the chief of police would be.
That's true too. Like, who pointed out to him where all these people are?
There's no line about you need to go here. He just says, get the Burgermeister and the chief of police. The monster's like, got it. And then when he returns, this is also insane. He returns and he has blood on his hands. And the hypnotist Zoltan is just like, what? I didn't mean kill them. Oh, the hell you didn't.
That is so strange. This little twist here where he's like going, what? As if we're supposed to now go, oh, this has been a horrible misunderstanding.
Well, because Zoltan earlier was like, I want you to punish them. And he really is like, and make sure they're punished for what they've done. And I'm like, well, what did he want him to do? Rough him up a bit? Wreck some stuff? I don't know.
I don't know either. And it almost feels like there are parts in this movie where, now I did say last week that the censors had been on Hammer's ass. But there are parts of this movie where they're almost cautiously stepping back from anything that might be considered horror or even intention. I'm like, well, let's not soft pedal this. And also, Baron Frankenstein himself is now turned into such a kind of like a soft character of like, I just want to be left alone to work on my things. Like, where's the evil of Frankenstein? Where is it? It's not really here. So even our antagonist, who has been shown to be a almost rapist, a drunk, and a guy who sends out simple-minded creatures to do his bidding, is now like going, oh no, you went too far. I didn't want you to hurt anybody.
Yeah, gee, I didn't mean that.
With your massive ham-like fists.
And then Victor comes in and sees that there's blood on the creature's hands, and he just starts slapping the shit out of Zoltan.
Yeah. Which I liked.
And Zoltan's trying to run away, and Cushing's right on him, smacking him back down.
I liked that.
So he's smacking this dude around, which we appreciate, because somebody had to.
Yep.
But once again, it's another, like, now he's the heroic thing, you used my creature to kill? He doesn't even know who, he doesn't know what the situation is.
Right. And the audience isn't even caring at this point. No. We got a little bit of a monster doing monster things, but a quick back out.
Uh-oh.
The wills between these two characters. And again, Zoltan is just too late in the story to even really
we know nothing about him, really.
He is just a plot contrivance to move the monster into doing bad things, because apparently on his own the monster would just eat sheep.
Right. Which is, just buy some sheep for him.
And cook them. Maybe get him used to cooked sheep.
But after he slaps Zoltan around for a while, what does Frankenstein do? He says, Hans, pack our bags, we're leaving.
Yeah, this is like the third time in this movie. It's like, you know what? We're just gonna have to hightail.
Are they taking the monster, or are they just going, good luck with the monster, everybody?
Oh, they gotta take the monster. Come on.
Hey, Zoltan, it's your monster now. You deal with the repercussions. You break it, you buy it, pal. So they kick him out. They start packing. The deaf girl is cleaning the blood off the monster's hands. This is another one of those scenes where she's being really gentle and nice with the creature.
Yeah. Again, they're implying that there's some sort of tenderness or friendship there, and that's not earned. We're just like, okay.
And meanwhile, Zoltan has snuck around to where the monster is, and he's like climbed up onto like metal grating on sort of like a skylight, and he's like, psst, monster. And he's just like, let me in, tear these bars off, which the monster does.
Very handily.
Yeah, very handily. And the deaf girl, without saying it, is like, oh no. And runs, I guess, to get... she does run to get Victor. And we follow her, and because Cushing's like, it's almost like Lassie's like, what? What's that, girl? And she's like,
yes.
Zoltan's broken back into the house.
It is exactly a Lassie moment, and that's not fair to anybody.
It's really not. The dehumanizing of this deaf character is pretty awful.
Yep.
So then he runs in, and he's like, Zoltan, didn't I tell you to get out of here? And now the deaf girl is trying to say something because the monster is coming up on Victor from behind. She's like, he's like, what? I don't understand what you're saying.
And maybe I could take the time to teach you to write, but you know what? No.
So the monster attacks Victor, but Victor grabs a lamp and turns it like a gas lamp or an oil lamp, and turns it up, and starts waving it at the monster to keep it away because fire bad.
Yeah.
And Zoltan's like, monster, ignore the fire, kill Frankenstein. And then I don't know why the monster's just like, no, and stabs Zoltan in the heart.
Yeah, it's unclear. You get the idea that maybe what they're saying is, at his very core, the monster's still a daddy's boy. And so Zoltan had
I was
control
just mad at Frankenstein. I didn't want to hurt him.
Until it came down to, I'm telling you to harm your creator. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. So you get a spear through the chest.
Here's my other theory.
Okay,
I'm telling him to ignore the fire. And he's like, oh, you don't care about me at all. That fire will hurt me.
Could be.
I don't know. The movie has no answers for us, so anything is possible.
Yeah, it's true. The movie is implying things and making us work much harder than we should to put all these pieces together instead of like you could lay this out better.
But
I could lay this out better. Give me about 15-20 minutes. I could explain a better story for you.
Absolutely. And with keeping most of the beats of this film still, and you could make something better.
Yep.
But the thing I do want to say, Peter Woodthorpe, who's the guy who plays Zoltan, he makes a meal out of this death scene.
He does. It's pretty good.
He does a whole stumble back and a wide-eyed what? Me? Stabbed? And then he does a full two falls to the ground sitting, and another I can't believe, and then he falls over dead. Yeah.
Then he has this brief monologue where he's going, all the child ever wanted was to touch the sky. And it's this whole soliloquy. It's
perhaps
pretty embarrassing.
I soared too high.
Now brought low. Yeah, it's fine.
The monster,
and he is
up.
He is hammy, but I prefer
he's something. He's got energy.
The blankness of Hans, and even the people like the Burgermaster, who doesn't get much time to be much of a character. It's like just a aristocratic dick.
But he's got that saucy wife.
Oh yeah, she does a lot with almost nothing.
I gotta say, honey, my favorite character was the Burgermeister's wife.
So he's down and out. We got rid of
he's
Zoltan.
very much impaled.
Don't get much more impaled than Zoltan.
Because he stabs him with I don't know what it is. It's some kind of sharp instrument, like a decorative.
It's like a spear.
It does, but it's like a sconce off of the wall or something. I don't know what it is exactly. Where he gets it, he snaps it.
We saw the lady in Curse of the Werewolf kill a guy with some sort of candle holder thing.
Yeah, we got some weird weapons in these movies.
Yeah, it's well, that's pointy. Use the pointy thing.
No, there's always some kind of sharp instrument around.
Garden spade just happens to be
just ready to stab something. So yeah, the monster stabs. And then the monster runs. And immediately, of course, the chief of police has showed up, and now Frankenstein's standing over this body, and he's like, "Yep, I'm arresting you for murder, Frankenstein. Oh, and the Burgermaster too. He's dead, so you're way under arrest. You're doubly under arrest.
You're under 3 arrests.
And also, we're gonna tack the crimes against God back on too." We only let that slide on the contingent you never return.
I'm forgiven for assaulting the policeman, right? Is that off the record?
Yeah, we're gonna let that slide, actually.
Okay.
Even though this was the guy he assaulted. So they arrest him, and Victor's like, "No, don't you know there's a monster headed to town? He's going to harm the people. You have to." And this is where I'm like, all of a sudden he cares about what happens to the people of the town, and he's like, no, not the town, they're in danger.
That's equally weird. And the whole thing of again, the monster is famous enough that Zoltan put him in the act.
Yeah.
And when the drunk guy was reporting the 12-foot dude he saw, it was refreshing enough that the cop is actually like going, no, keep going. I mean, most people think you're crazy, but we have had monster problems before. But this whole thing of like them kind of scoffing at Frankenstein now that he's saying the monster is headed to town. They're like, yeah, okay,
he
whatever.
says that, and he's yelling there, all the people are going to die, and they club him over the back of the head and go like, hey, that'll shut you up.
With all of that nonsense.
Yeah.
Oh, monsters. Oh, wait. Didn't he make a monster?
Come to think of it, I remember something about him making a monster. You don't think that has anything to do with it?
Well, we'll ask him when he wakes up.
But instead, Hans knows immediately where the monster is gone, and he hikes up to the mountains again, where he finds the monster and the deaf girl huddling up in the cave, where I assume they fall in love. Because I don't know. I don't know.
It's implied.
Yeah.
You know, there's something in their eyes.
And so,
hers, you can see, his are hidden by the box on his head.
It really does. It really does draw all your focus. You don't look at any other part of his face because you're so drawn to this gigantic box on a forehead.
It's like you do realize you can imply what Jack Pierce did to Carlos' face without literally putting a box on a guy's head.
Yeah. Oh, that's the only way I could imagine doing it. I think that's how he did it, probably.
And done. I have perfected Jack Pierce's makeup. He didn't have the tools I have now in 1964. Look at that.
Healthy supply of boxes.
I say that's about as perfect as you're going to see. Oof.
I feel like the real scenario is it done yet? We gotta shoot now.
It really is like an over the weekend thing. Yeah, it has to be.
We film on Monday. Finish up. So, meanwhile, Frankenstein is in the cell at the police station. He hears another man is coming to describe seeing the monster. And he's just like, see, Chief, do you believe me now? And the Chief is just like, yeah, I believe you now. So we've gone from one scene, you're crazy, to what's the point of even adding the conflict of him being seen as crazy if immediately in this next scene they're like, yeah, you're right, there is a monster.
Again, it's just bad screenwriting.
Well, at this point in the movie, it's just like, the movie's got to end soon.
They are looking at the clock. Yeah, that's it.
And that's about, once again, I always check, and I did look, and there was about 10 minutes left in the movie when this happened. And it's just like, well, we got to finish her up. And the Chief does say, it's like, yes, I believe you. And when we find that monster, he's gonna burn. And that one guy's like, yes, we're gonna burn someone.
The one guy's like, oh, at last. I've
wanted to burn someone for so long.
We know it's all you talk about.
Yes, burn.
Moving on.
Burn. And so, yeah, this is our scene where the angry mob gathers because we have to have it. It's obligated.
But this scene, oh my God. Okay. All right. So the angry mob, they seem actually just to be more like concerned. They're a concerned mob.
Yeah.
There are no torches, by the way. Nope. And when they head out into
it's always broad daylight when they're hunting the monster.
Yeah. For Hammer it is. So they go out, and it's like a gang of maybe 30 people all going along the track, and they just keep looking into the woods like, oh yeah, maybe over there. But Frankenstein himself, he grabs a cart.
Well, first he has to escape his prison cell, where somehow he's managed to get his hands on chloroform. Or something.
This movie's chloroform heavy, by the way. They
down
go to
the stretch it is, yeah.
It
goes from no chloroform to a ton of chloroform in the third act.
And Zoltan was using it, and now the doctor's using it. Actually, he used it even earlier in the movie too. So chloroform aplenty.
Yeah, so he chloroforms this police officer and then gets out of his cell and takes a cart. And yeah, just goes right through this mob of people. They clear to either side of the street as Peter Cushing on some kind of early blue screen or something comes flying down. I do like his wild horses on reins acting.
There's a thing when they're escaping. He's trying to do it subtly because he's ducked down into the cart. But he's only reaching up his hand to grab the reins to hie the horses on to get them moving, but without standing up.
Right.
So you got him ducked down in the back of the cart, and his hands are up, and he uses the reins to get the horses moving, and that's his clever thing. Like, oh, it'll just look like the cart's taken off. The second he's through the gate, he's hopped up, and now it's stunt double, doing the standing.
Right.
And working the reins, like, go on, horses, because he's got no time to lose. Then it's Peter Cushing with the blue screen of the road going back, and he's just standing there acting like he's working the reins.
He's doing a lot.
When they get to his eventual destination, it is Peter Cushing who's standing up, because he does when he slows the cart down and then hops out, it's smooth. It's totally him. And I'm like, wait, was he the one actually doing the fast part? Then they really should have.
He was the Tom Cruise of his day.
He was the Tom Cruise of his day. I just found that was pretty badass. But yes, the blue screen is hilarious. It looks like early Disney live action films from the 60s.
Very much so.
Same kind of blue screen.
Very much so.
It's like, oh my God, it's Bob Crane and Super Dad. But it wasn't.
No.
Bob Crane was just a few years away from being strangled to death with a phone cord. Anyway, moving on.
At some point, I guess the deaf girl has fallen unconscious because the monster is now carrying her back to the lab following Hans. I don't know.
She could just be tired. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're on the way back to the lab.
Yeah. The monster's upset. They're in the lab, and it's him and the deaf girl, and he's like, he's throwing a temper tantrum.
Things are not going his way.
And so the deaf girl's like, here, have some wine, and gives the creature wine. He takes a sip, doesn't like it, smashes the bottle, but then thinks for a second, goes, actually, I did like that, and tries.
Yeah, it's so strange. And then he's like, I'm sorry, I smashed that. So he starts scooping it up off the ground. I'm like, okay.
Well, it's an acquired taste.
Now wine is good.
Yeah.
He likes that. He's getting tipsy. He wants more. He's grabbing bottles up and uncorking them and downing the wine. And now she's going, this was a mistake. Yeah. I probably should have.
Because Frankenstein shows up, and at just about the time that he takes a swig of his chloroform.
That's right. He has the monster has just grabbed a bottle, again, assuming they are all wine. It's the chloroform, and he's drunk it down. So not only is he tipsy, now he's also enraged.
And he starts He starts smashing the lab apart. Random chemicals are just flowing everywhere. Stuff's bubbling.
And there's all that wine on the ground, so there's alcohol. And don't you know that some fire is going to hit that? Don't you know?
But Cushing does get the deaf girl out of there and then barricades the door because Hans is like, let me save you, let me. And I guess Frankenstein's like, I should die too?
Yeah, it becomes this weird heroic sacrifice thing that you're like, well, that's not necessary because you're not doing anything really other than closing the door on one side. You could have closed it on the other side and been safe and let the monster cook on its own.
No, for some reason, he's got to do a cool swashbuckling hero swing down into the flames so he can just stand there and die with the monster.
Yeah. So the crowd shows up pretty conveniently outside, but they're still far away, but they see the smoke rising from the castle.
And then Deaf Girl and Hans are running from the castle, and just as they clear it, the place explodes.
Yeah, and they look back, like kind of going, oh, it's all over.
Yeah.
True enough, because then we see the credits.
It's a hard cut to the end, and I'm disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, it has all these little elements you want in a Frankenstein film, but not thought through, not given any dramatic weight or
we
build.
are just watching the checklist of Frankenstein things.
Yeah, and there's no great arc for our main character or our villain or anybody. So at the end of it,
there are no themes, there are no plot points.
It's a big shrug with a box on its head. That's this movie. Is a big shrug,
big old shrug with a box on its head. Yeah, obviously, if you can't tell, we don't recommend watching this.
Do we still love Peter Cushing, John?
Without question.
To the end of time, we love Peter Cushing.
You'll never hear us say a bad thing about Peter Cushing on this show.
No, all the way through this thing, he's a pro. And all we can do at the end of the movie is feel bad that he was in it. He rises above the material, but the material is so low that he can't do anything to help this movie other than be Peter Cushing. So, all the way around, Evil Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I was excited to get back to the Frankenstein franchise here.
Me too, especially since it delayed us going to what I assume is probably going to be a pretty half-assed mummy flick. But we are going to be doing the half-assed mummy flick, which might be good. You know, I'm prejudging.
Next week on the show, which as a movie I don't believe I've ever seen, is Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
No, but I've seen Blood of the from the Mummy's Tomb because that's the one with the Hachi Mama in it. Sorry,
this
that's
movie
inappropriate.
Has no Cushing, no Lee, no connection to the other Mummy movie they made that I can tell in any way whatsoever.
It's very much like the Universal model. They really are following Universal's lead.
They are. It is this weird thing where is this just the inevitable path for all these movies? No matter who, you just eventually start back on the same track. That's
not that their Mummy. Not that their Mummy, the first Mummy film, was anything great. It had some good stuff in it. Mm-hmm. But what's weird is them just abandoning any connective tissue and going, no, let's just do another Mummy movie. And we'll forget that we had a character that we'd established already. So, yep, no Lee, no Cushing, and a brand new Mummy.
Yep. Yay.
This one does not have Abbott or Costello.
No.
So,
and nor does it have Foreign or Ford.
Damn. Oh, I keep saying, man, they were still alive at that point, or probably.
Yeah.
It's like have them out there as elderly cameos. I would have loved it.
Instead, we get Terrence Morgan and
Ronald
Howard.
Perfect.
That's who we're talking about next week on the show.
All right.
For Curse of the Mummy's Tomb from the same year, 1964 again.
Nice. So. We'll see if we recognize any sets or props.
Probably.
Any crossover.
Yeah, probably. I would not be surprised.
And again, it's a non-Terrence Fisher, non-Jimmy Sangster.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, that's going to finish things up for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters.
With boxes on their heads.